Here, we'll use this. We'll use this meme. Drama, Monday Newsday, Netanyahu, Florida, Somaliopolis fraud case, plus slop agit slop. Can you cover this TikTok about patriarchal norms and casual homophobia? I think it needs more attention to it. Sure. Anyway, doing squats on my hips, 5 reps. My hips killing me, so my knees are just soft. Okay. Please don't cave the drama baiters. It's not like a it's not actually like real. It's not real drama. It's not actually like a real drama at all. They just Aiden Ross called you out in his Marty Supreme review. Marty Supreme review. The fuck do I have to do about Marty Supreme? After Marjorie Taylor Greene held a news conference at which she threatened to name abusers in the Epstein files, Trump called her. Greene was in the Capitol Hill office. Okay. According to Greene, Trump replied, "My friends will get hurt. Oh my God, my queen. Marjorie Taylor Queen." Or as Van Lathan says, Marjorie Taylor King. Will you be mentioning the new Abu Obaida? Sure. Yes, we'll be talking about Abu Obaida was revealed. But yeah, the new drama is bringing you up for random shit that happened in their lives. Wait, what do you mean? The new drama meta is bringing you up for random shit that happened in their lives? What does that even mean? What, you want to order food? Yeah, Al-Qaeda shkar. Why the fuck are there so many drama chatters in this bitch already? I have no idea. I'm both extremely online as of late, like a lot more online than I normally am, and also not, I guess, super tapped in. But your soldiers are more online than you are. But everyone keeps vague posting about supposed drama, but they won't say what it is, like, or they won't like link me what it is. But because you will react to them, Hassan, is literally that simple. The only drama we need is 90-day react say. Eat and Fearbuck have the clip. Okay, Fearbuck. Okay. These models just leaked on Neon Stream that Hasanabi allegedly flew them out to Europe. Yeah. This apparently was doing numbers on Unk Talk too. Because my cousin from Turkey, this morning I was talking to him and he brought it up. Apparently Neon was doing one of these streams and he had these 2 girls on the stream and I don't even know why, but they just, here, let's just watch. Hassan, even covering the slightest bit of drama takes away from any good content. Should just ignore it if it's nonsense Slav. Okay, to the old boomers in the chat, this is fine. This is not like a serious thing. Calm down.
Have you guys ever dated the same guy?
No, maybe. Hassan?
So he asked, like, have you guys ever dated the same guy? And they laugh and they go, Hassan. Okay? And then they freak out.
He flew us to Europe.
And then they say, he flew us to Europe. You keep giving it attention so they will keep doing it. I know, but like, this is not, first of all, this is like low impact. Even if it was real, it's not that big of a deal. But it's such a funny thing to lie about that, you know, I'm going to cover it.
You're watching this? We love you so much. Who got free flights to Europe? So we paused the live. Of course, baby girl. We did.
Oh, wow.
We didn't go for comedy.
Okay.
Wait, so I don't think this is me. Like, I don't think this is me at all. Wait, hold on. There's like a different clip that I saw where there's no cuts in it, where they like bring up a bunch of other stuff that made me feel like it wasn't. There's a different video. I think the Fear Buck account had like a different video actually. Hassan looking at them like, shit, maybe I did. No, I've never flown anyone around the world. And I mean, they're beautiful ladies. I'm honored that they would choose to lie about me flying them around the world. The only person I fly around the world is March. And that's it. It can't be Mehdi Hassan. So I don't even know who, like, there's got to be like an Australian, I assume there's got to be like an Australian Hassan or something, maybe. I don't fucking know. But yeah, what's the drama? Hassan fucks is a problem now? Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, it's not serious. It's not like a serious drama. But here, Neon was shocked when 2 models alleged that Hassan flew them out to Europe.
Ever dated the same guy?
No, maybe.
Yeah, it starts out with him saying, have you 2 dated the same guy? They say maybe.
Have you, Hassan? so much. Who got free flights to Europe? We paused the live. Of course, baby girl. We did.
Oh wow.
We didn't go for comedy.
Okay. So y'all are y'all get flown out and get fucked.
No.
Oh, you don't
not
fuck- you don't-
fucked.
okay.
We're just, we're just blonde. So we're like, we're going for the vibes. We're
Okay.
going for the shits and gigs.
I feel you.
Yeah.
So y'all didn't link Hassan when you got there?
No.
He just bought the ticket.
Nah, we just did the dinners.
To be seen with us out in public, you know?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Isn't that good for us though?
It's pretty good.
So he flew you guys out, and all you had to do was stand next to him.
Yes.
What a
Take
fucking.
photos, go out for dinner.
Yes, we will.
Tanımıyor musun onları? Tanıyor musun onları? Nope. I have no idea who these people are. Like, not even a little bit. I don't know what your type is, but they don't seem like it. I don't have a type, but I genuinely doubt that it's Hassan Minhaj either. Like, it's got to be like a different Hassan. But Neon here literally says Hasanabi. And they also bring up that we didn't go for the comedy. So I don't know what that means. Like, I just genuinely don't know why they like, I can't tell if that was just like they were two like random fans or something, and then they casually brought my name up as a joke and then they went along with it, or if it was like a different Hassan and Neon thought it was me and they just didn't understand that he was like bringing my
Literally
name up.
living our life in
living
Europe,
life.
like Mykonos, you name it, we were there.
Scorpions.
We were at freaking Ireland.
Wow, Hasanabi, how could you do that? That's crazy.
No,
Okay.
that's amazing.
Yeah, wow. So do you guys still talk to Hassan?
Blocked on everything.
Blocked. We got our way and blocked.
We got our way and blocked. So what are their Instagram accounts? Very easy to figure out. Well, if they're blocked, if the other Hassan blocked them, then we can't actually search. They don't deny when he says Hasanabi. I think they just kind of didn't think about it more than. Come on, Murat. Yeah, I know. I did. They blocked you. They blocked me. They said we're blondes. We went for the vibes. Doesn't that sound like an oil money Hassan flew out two blondes because they're exotic? Yeah. It's just funny because, like, when the fuck would I have flown these women out with me to Europe when I'm on camera pretty much 24/7? Also, you never saw them around me. So it doesn't even make sense. If I was just like trying to look cool with like babes around me or some shit, but you didn't see them, then it kind of failed, right? It defeated the purpose. Between today and yesterday's stream, you didn't stream for 10 hours. Yeah. And also they said I went to Mykonos, which I've never been to Greece. So there is also that aspect of this too. Do not bring these people into it, in my opinion. They will forever get harassed by others. At least don't show their usernames on stream. Yeah. I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. Well, I caught like a random stray, but it wasn't even like a bad stray. I don't even think this is, whatever. Okay, yeah. They're saying I'm like Drake. I'm a celebrity. I'm like flying. I'm flying women all around the world. Yeah. I don't know where it came from, but not a good analogy. Yeah, that's probably not the best analogy. Let's be real. But the first name that I feel like that's the type of person that would do that. You know what I mean? I feel like if I think about like a famous celebrity flying people around, it would Drake is the first one that comes to mind, or like Leonardo DiCaprio. But again, that's also not a good example either. But get Boy to investigate. I love that he never specifies they're talking about Hassan Piker because it'd ruin the clips if it's not you. Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, I'll take it. This is like and there's this other clip like this with Extra Emily, a girl saying she went on a date with you or something. Yeah, I have no idea about that one, but I don't know why they would like randomly bring it up. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. Like something like a flip switched yesterday. And randomly people are just like, yeah, I've been going on dates with Hassan. The Extra Emily one is some girl who says she works in a shop and you're a rude customer or something. Wait, really? The extra Emily clip wasn't about going on a date. No, she said she saw you in a store she was working at. What's that clip? Extra Emily clip. Let's see this.
Like we went someplace that was like an hour away, drove there. Yeah, and then it was fun. And like conversation was great, but we were talking about like politics the whole time and like where money should be allocated in the government. Like it wasn't like a fun, flirty time, you know? Yeah, it was with Hassan, bro. It was with Hassan. He was a bad.
She's not talking about you here. You're getting clickbaited. This clip is cut. I've never met this person in my life. That's Tiff, Emily's best friend. She says she likes you in the past, and she's obviously joking. What? The first part is not about you. Keep playing the clip.
Date. Guys, I have met Hassan multiple times. He comes into our store. Wow. And he's not very nice to me. Yep. Can I say that?
Maybe is he like
This has 9.3K upvotes on LSF, so GG. Wait. Kinda went viral, but I've never met this person. What the fuck? Aiden paying Clippers to defame you. Basically, he's salty because you exposed his grift on Palestine. She talks about going on a political date, then people in the chat bring you up, and she says you've been to her store. She's a fan of yours. She works at some fashion store in New York City. When the fuck have I gone to a fashion store in New York City? Brother, you're running into rakes on purpose? No, I don't think this is... I think she's just memeing. Don't give the clout chasers too much airtime. I think you guys are taking it too seriously. The politics conversation was not with you. They just joked about it sounding like it was you. Oh, I love the fucking clip meta, man. It's awesome. I don't even go to New York. I don't even go to New York like that. So how many times could I have been to a fashion store in New York City? I think she was memeing and Clippers clipped it out of context. Wait, so what's the LSF narrative around it? Oh, dude, I love that. It's just anyone can say anything totally fake or anything like that's, you know, half sincere, half joking. And people will seriously be like, oh yeah, no, this is Hassan slander, upvote. This has 9.3 thousand upvotes on LSF. What? I've never met this person. What the fuck's going on? Hassan, bro, she's not joking. She's saying you are rude to her in the store. She was joking about the date thing. But I don't think I've ever met this person before. What?
Hassan multiple times.
Wow.
He comes into our store.
wow.
And he's not very nice to me. Yep. Can I say that?
Was
I not supposed to say that?
That's okay. So maybe is he like busy? Like is he busy?
I don't know.
Maybe he like
It's the
looking.
truth.
Maybe he's looking somewhere.
But do you know who was really, really nice to me? Like, so nice to me? I forgot his name. He was Frankenstein. He was in Priscilla. He was Elvis. Okay, he was in Euphoria. He was the mean guy in Euphoria.
He's an actor.
The Jacob Elordi. Wait, I wonder if which store could it be? I don't think I've met her multiple times. I'm pretty sure that Hassan came into my workplace and he wasn't very nice to copy pasta. I've seen it a few times on Reddit. No. I wonder, oh my God. I wonder if it's like you always ask, who is this for? And I'm going to ask you right now, why are we watching this? She didn't even say it like she was mad. And if you were shitty to someone in customer service, I feel like it would be more details. Like, how are you not nice to her? I think she's joking about not being nice to you because someone said she likes you. So she's kidding. You're such a disgusting guy. You're right. I think someone should kill me. I'm gonna choose to take this offhanded comment that now has 10,000 upvotes on Reddit to the maximum degree. Hopefully, when I go out into the next time, someone will shoot me with a gun and end my torment. I think she meant you are not full celebrity. I'm not. I don't think so. Elizabeth, it makes it seem less of a bit because it cuts out the date part. She essentially says you came to her store and you're rude, but in the context, it feels more like a bit. I have no idea what this was, but I apologize profusely to this person if I was seemingly short with them or something like that. I am very, very sorry. I do have a little bit of autism. That could be the reason, but I don't think I've gone to the store, so I think it might be a bit. But then again, I don't know. Plus, I don't want to like investigate any further because then other weirdos online are gonna like dig into their past or something. She's a normie friend of Extra Emily who knows nothing about streaming law. She would make jokes about other streamers without realizing the consequence of clip farmers. You haven't met her, lol. You know, I've seen you in a Balenciaga in New York City when I was there shopping around. You stepped on my Rick Owens, spit on my face, and called me a capitalist swine. True, that does sound a lot like me. Hasanabi canceled before GTA 6. She said you were her favorite streamer. Oh, she's gonna be so happy when she sees this clip. Yeah. You came into my workplace and stole our coffee maker and called us fascists for stopping you. This is true. I did do that. I am notorious for doing that. Watch, she was doing a Hassan Bad bit and it's totally clipped now. Maybe she's watching right now. I mean, yeah, maybe this store, it's on her page. Oh, okay, guys. Don't do that thing. No, this is a coffee shop. That is a place that I've gotten coffee from in the mornings. That's it. Okay, so maybe I have actually. She said I work in a fashion store, so I thought she was like, it's a coffee shop and a fashion store. Anyway, I don't want to give more details, but that makes sense. Maybe she did. Maybe she did see me getting coffee in the morning with my Apple iPad, or not iPad, my Apple fucking headphones on. She works multiple jobs, she said. No, that's definitely, it's probably the coffee, but I don't recall interacting with her at all. Hassan, end this segment right now, dumbass. I don't think I've ever interacted with her. I don't think I've ever seen her. Hassan is not a morning person. Got it. Move on before people start stalking her. Yeah, if anyone stalks her, I will laser you into fucking oblivion. If it's the one I'm thinking of, the people working there have totally both been really nice / kind of rude and everything in between I've been. Yeah, it's like, guys, I will say this. It's a little bit of an intimidating place. It's like a coffee shop. It's like very cool. I've talked about it before on stream. It's an intimidating place. Like everyone there is very cool. And I'm walking in the morning and I'm just trying to get like a coffee and get out. That might have been the reason why she got the wrong impression. But it's like one of those places where it's like very uptight and very cool. You know what I mean? And I think she was probably memeing. I don't think she was being serious, but it's one of those, it's one of those places that's like very, very, it's a very cool place. And I'm not very cool. You know what I mean? How often do you get coffee there? If it's in New York, not very often. Big bro, you got to come to Connecticut. But yeah, all right, let's move on from the two sequence of events that took place. What is this, like Soho uptight? It's even cooler than that, but close enough. But it's very cool. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a very cool place. But it's funny because it's funny because I have literally talked about getting coffee from that place, and I've talked about how, like, when I was in New York, I talked about getting coffee from that place, and I talked about how like uncool I felt because of how cool the coffee shop was. Anyway, let's move on. All right. iShowSpeed kicked off his Africa tour with a stream in Angola and already linked up with the Angolan tribe, dancing and vibing with the culture. This man is living his life, dude, every goddamn day. Do you think Speed listens to Blowback? Yeah. That's why he's here. That's why he's doing the Africa tour, because Blowback season 6, I don't know which season we're on now. That's what it is. Why are you so lemon, bro? I'm not.
Let's go! Let's get right. Welcome to the motherland. Welcome home. Let's go. Chat. We here, bro. We here. Woo. Let's go.
They do have W production, chat. Yes, Angola has one of my favorite flags. for all the vexillology heads out there, Angola has one of my favorite flags of all time, as I've talked about before. Also, yeah, there is some more news coming out of the African continent. Anthony Joshua was in a car crash. He is seemingly fine, but I think his personal trainer and like 2 of his friends actually passed away in the car crash. He was in Nigeria. Yeah, he wasn't driving the car. But yeah, Anthony Joshua injured in car crash in Nigeria that killed 2 people. British former boxing champion. You guys might know who Anthony Joshua is. I covered his fight with Jake Paul. He recently beat the doors off of Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua was injured in this car crash. He was in Nigeria visiting. But yeah, his head coach and his training partner, who are I believe like close friends of his as well, they passed away. British former boxing champion sustained minor injuries. 2 people killed in collision, say police in Ogun State. The British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua was injured in a car crash in Nigeria on Monday morning that killed 2 people, local police said. The former world heavyweight boxing champion was taken to an undisclosed hospital after his car hit a stationary vehicle at about 11 a.m. on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The Ogun State Police Commissioner Lanre Ogunlowo said the driver of Joshua's vehicle was also injured. He added, "It's still sketchy for us here. We are trying to establish all the facts and the first responders, and that is the most we can say. We will give in details as we have updates." An Ogun Police Command statement read, "The vehicle conveying Mr. Joshua, a Lexus SUV, was involved in an accident under circumstances that are currently being investigated. Joshua, seated in the rear of the vehicle, sustained minor injuries and receiving medical attention with another injured person. Tragically, 2 other passengers of the vehicle lost their lives at the scene. The deceased have been conveyed to the Livewell Hospital morgue. Sagamu, the Ogun State Police Command, extends heartfelt condolences to the families of the deceased and assures the public that a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the accident has commenced." I hate Twitter so much. I had filters on not to watch the awful stuff, and the first thing I saw on my For You page is 2 bodies of his crew. Yeah, I saw some videos of it. I luckily did not get to see that. But yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. I know that there's people immediately that will say, "Oh, is this foul play?" I suspect foul play. There's no reason to automatically assume that it is foul play. A video shared by the local news outlet Punch appeared to show Joshua sitting in the back left seat of a damaged car. A second video showed him walking slowly and getting into a police vehicle. Nigeria's Federal Road Safety Corps said in a post on X that it had arrived on the scene within 3 minutes of it being notified. It said a total of 5 adult males were involved in the crash. 2 persons sadly lost their lives. 1 sustained injuries, while 2 others escaped unhurt. Anthony Joshua was rescued alive and sustained minor injuries. The agency added preliminary findings indicated that the Lexus Jeep, which was suspected to be traveling beyond the legally prescribed speed limit on the corridor, lost control during an overtaking maneuver and crashed into a stationary truck well packed by the side of the road. Primary cause of the crash being excessive speed and wrongful overtaking constitute serious traffic violations and remain among the leading cause of fatal road crashes on Nigerian highways. Photo shared by Agency X showed a black car with a badly damaged front and a truck covered in tarpaulin on downward sloping grass verge, which with what appears to be a dent on the left side of its back. And yes, for those of you who don't know, Joshua was the son of British Nigerian parents and has family ties in the town of Sagamu, about 30 miles north of Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. Police said the crash took place on northbound Ibadan side of the highway, close to the junction to Sagamu. The 36-year-old attended a boarding school in Ikenne, 53 miles from the crash site, before returning to Britain at the age of 12. That's why he reps Nigeria as well when he's fighting. And that's part of the reason why a lot of white supremacists hate him in England. And, prayers for all the people and their families. But yeah, that's all I got. But I just wanted to give you an update on this as well. Lagos, sorry, not Lagos. Also, David is likely to be indicted by a grand jury in the Celeste Rivas murder. So there's that too. What is this? Don't like Assam, but I love how he has a separate second tier of enemies that are basically ineffective street level Gotham City villains. Like what are you even saying here, man? Pick literally any other angle of attack. You are Clock King. What is this? The dog collar stuff made it to coworker conversation level. This, on the other hand, I really do not think is something someone with any gray matter would bylaw. Pick literally any other angle. You can basically tell who's a street level villain versus an actual nemesis based on who brings up the Diddy party stuff. Stop clicking on drama. I like that these guys will straight up be like, I don't really like Hassan. And the reason why he says stuff like that is because of all of the other times where these low level drama abaters have just like slandered me. That there is just like this. Oh, this is the this is the tweet. The fact that there is plausible reason to believe that there's photos on the way to a Diddy party or Epstein Island and no other option is insane to me. Yeah, dude, I was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. You really fucking nailed it, brother. Given my age, if I was on the Epstein jet, I would be 3 years old. Okay, you fucking moron. Like. The timeline does not add up. I like that there's still 4,000 likes on it, though. Respect. Go easy on Tectone. A judge hasn't let him stream for the last 4 months. Your face is being used for other beefs, Keck W. Oh, I saw this one. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then there's a whole bunch of like international hammer and sickle accounts being like, this guy fucking sucks. And then the reasoning for it is he mistreats his dog. Anyway, dog, you should see the fan fiction all the Groypers wrote about you under your Looks Max tweet. Somehow to them, you're fat and bald and also do steroids and have plastic surgery. Yeah. I think Twitter, this is a cliche, okay? This is a real big cliche, but I don't think Twitter is good for people. I think if you had any like early onset schizophrenia tendencies, like if you had any of that in you, I do think that Twitter has unlocked that in your mind. Like Twitter has made it so much worse. Cause yeah, no, there was this one where someone said, I see why you have the beard now. You'd look like this again if you cut it and stopped getting buccal fat removal surgery. And then there were also a lot of people saying like, had to take steroids like a trans person, which I do love that people suspect me of taking steroids. You automatically, well, one, I think it's very flattering that you think that. And two, you just immediately show everyone around you that you've never been inside of a gym. Because, you know, anyone that is above a level of novice in weightlifting knows what a steroid user looks like versus a steroid non-user. I don't think I have the gains to look like I use steroids, but thank you for thinking that. But also, yeah, it's like, there's just like people claiming that I fly to Turkey to get like a shit ton of plastic surgery, things like that. Okay. Once again, thank you for thinking that. I am somehow the most online person, and therefore you can pretty much map out my travels and where I'm at any given moment. And considering that I've been live pretty much every single day since 2018, it's quite difficult to find any time frame where I wasn't on camera for long periods of time where I'd be able to like fit in all this stuff, but that's cool. My point is people that may have had some mental health complications, I think when they go, you know, when they lean into like Twitter stuff, I think it really hurts their brains, you know? It's not very good for their brains, I don't think. I think the internet is not very good. You just have good editors? Yeah, I fake it. But half of the haters say you never leave your room. Other half says you're flying girls around the world and getting plastic surgery. Yeah. Do you think Twitter will disappear at some point or slowly lose more viewers? No, I had a more optimistic worldview of the future, I think, initially when I said, when I initially thought that like people would inevitably snap back, like woke would come back, people would inevitably snap back to like a little bit of normalcy because they'd be grossed out by this stuff. But I genuinely believe that people are just getting dumber and dumber. And as people get dumber and dumber, I think they lean into more insane conspiracies. And yeah, That's not. I I genuinely don't think we're gonna recover. I don't think people are just gonna snap back and decide to be intelligent again. But who knows? Maybe. What is this? Oh, this is the year in review I reposted earlier, the recap. We had a pretty good year, by the way. In spite of all the haters, sorry to all the haters, but we had a pretty good fucking year. I just think that there is less and less of a market for people who are going to say, like, look, this is my worldview. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to fucking lie to you. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about certain things. And I will always base my analysis off of facts, right? I'm always going to think critically about things. I'm always going to try to do my very best. I can still fuck up every now and then. I'm a human being, but ultimately, I will always root my analysis in facts. Okay, I will try to be as truthful as I physically, humanly can, and I think a part of being truthful also is about revealing your political worldview. Many of these guys, on the other hand, don't do that. I think they just kind of lean into in a maybe sinister, maybe not sinister. Maybe they're just like oblivious to the fact that they're not apolitical and they're actually right wing, but like they will just say that they're apolitical. They're anti-politics. They're apolitical. They don't have any like political worldviews or whatever. They're centrist. And I think a lot of people see that as a positive. They personally believe that they also are constantly saying like, well, there's some truth to every there's some truth to every side on any issue, right? And I think that works a lot better. Like I think that just works better as far as marketing goes. I think people find themselves duped by people who don't come out of the gate swinging with their political worldview, even if they are a political operative, right? The Nick Shitley, Tyler Oliveira equation. I think those guys get a lot of fucking coworkers and a lot of normies to believe in a whole bunch of right-wing nonsense with their framing on issues, with who they collaborate, with what they say, and they never actually say that they are right-wing, right? Even if they go on Fox News, people don't know that they're going on Fox News and shit, you know what I mean? Until they openly come out and say, I'm a right-winger, I'm voting for Donald Trump, many people don't think that, these guys are right-wing. Sometimes you can have a person who endorses Donald Trump and people still refuse to admit that they're right-wing. Joe Rogan is the greatest example of this. And I think because of that, because of how much people refuse to comprehend that someone who's not openly saying they're right-wing can still be fucking right-wing, that kind of shit pops off pretty hard, I think, for a lot of normies. A lot of normies look at that and go, no, this guy's just like tackling the issue in a sincere way. And when someone does come out and say like, nah, I'm this, I'm leftist, I'm a leftist, I will criticize Democrats, I will criticize the Republicans, I'm a leftist, this is my worldview, I believe in the Marxist interpretation of history, the Marxist analysis. People hear that and then they immediately bracket you into a certain part. Like they immediately associate you with all of the baggage that comes along with what they believe that means, right? And oftentimes it's not real shit, especially when it's a worldview or an ideology that's like totally outside of what they've ever encountered or been propagandized against pretty heavily, right? And broadly, people associate bias with political viewpoint and discount people who they believe have a bias, and people who don't say they have one aren't recognized as having one. Exactly. And I hate that. I think that is the most insincere shit of all time. Fox News saying that they're doing like real news commentary. Obviously, when they first started doing editorial pieces that was heavily right-wing, Fox News didn't openly say they're like heavily right-wing or whatever. They still say that they're fair and balanced, right? Fox News is mainstream news. It's the most mainstream news, as a matter of fact. It's the most successful mainstream news outlet, and yet what do? They constantly rail against mainstream news. They constantly rail against mainstream news. And people tune in and think, oh, I'm actually not watching mainstream news when I'm watching Fox News. I'm watching a different perspective. It's unfortunate, but I think people are sheep by and large. I think a lot of the free thinkers are sheep. A lot of people who feel like they're adults, or a lot of people who see themselves as like more intelligent than the average person, I think they also fall into the same marketing. Because I see far too many intelligent people, far too many educated people that are so uneducated when it comes to media literacy. And this is just a real issue, no matter what. And I think slowly but surely, as society devolves, slowly but surely, as political discourse worsens in this country, as a byproduct of material conditions worsening as well, I think there will be less and less investment and less interest in like serious news coverage, or even serious analysis. And people who just make up conspiracy theories will probably pop off even harder. That's somewhat of a bleak outlook, but that is what I think. I see intelligent, well-read people I respect think the free press is a legitimate centrist news source. Exactly. I think a lot of people fall into this trap where their political biases, or the way that they see the world has clouded their media literacy. They are not intelligent. No, they are. People can be intelligent in other ways, chatter. You got people saying you're red pill if you like Marty Supreme Law. We're cooked even when it comes to media literacy, especially now. Yeah. Like the thing that I was saying, the reason why I'm saying this is because I realized that the Nick Shirley video that we watched yesterday for like 6 hours and went through had zero information in it whatsoever. And it was so shocking because there is a real story there, a real story that has been covered a lot by mainstream news and mainstream outlets. And what's really interesting about it is that it was worse than like Project Veritas, right? Because Project Veritas in the past, run by James O'Keefe, would take a big news story, right? They would take like a big news story that the media was covering and would obviously frame it in a very disingenuous right-wing way. And what they would do is basically like they would find someone who is maybe a little related to the issue. They would get them drunk. They would have a secret camera. They would film them talking shit, right? And they would chop it up. They would edit the video deceptively to present a narrative. That's bad journalism, but there's still like some work being put there, right? Like you're still going out to what you are claiming is a primary source, even though they usually aren't. And you're trying to present faulty evidence or false evidence with false framing, but you're still trying to present evidence, right? And I think nowadays that's not even necessary. I think you're more successful if you don't even do that and you just simply go around yelling and be a nuisance streamer, right? But as long as you're behaving like a nuisance streamer in a direction that people can, in a politically advantageous way, people look at that and they go, yeah, this guy's doing the brave work. People don't even put a lot of effort into lying anymore. And it's kind of crazy. He showed empty fake daycare centers that wouldn't let him apply or even had a business card, and he showed how much they were getting in funding. That's pretty good proof. Can they provide evidence that they actually are running a daycare center? Why is no parent of a child that goes there speaking out? It's because it's a scam. Or maybe there is an environment of genuine fear. Why would any fucking Somali American come out and be like, this is my child going there? Everyone is insane, brother. What are you talking about? Nothing you just brought up is proof, for the record. And I did talk about it. I talked about it, especially from the perspective of like, this could very well be real, right? I mean, there is at least a separate investigation that's already taking place to look at the actual conditions of these daycares, these facilities, these childcare facilities. The point isn't that these places are not scamming, right? I'm not even saying that these places are definitely not scamming. I'm saying that he didn't prove that they were scamming. He did not prove that there was no children there, because simply going outside of a childcare facility and yelling, "Show me your children right now," with a bunch of people, with a camera crew in tow, with like security guards in tow at a time when like people are terrified of ICE agents and shit. That's not evidence at all. So even as I said yesterday, even if every single facility that he went to objectively is running a scam operation and is like totally fucking empty or whatever, he didn't prove any of that in the video, and yet people are behaving like he did. And that's what's frustrating about this situation from my perspective, because that's not like, you're not looking at, look, we have no consensus reality anymore, right? We have no, like, the adults are gone, and there is no interest in consensus reality at all. Everyone is just like, nope, I agree with this already. I have suspicions. I have prior suspicions. And that's all I need. I had to talk to my Zoomer classmates about this. Apparently media literacy isn't prioritized because obviously it's real. There's video. And it turns out that they didn't even watch the thing. Same thing we old fucks did last decade. We were just scanned the titles of news articles and made up the text in our mind instead of reading. Never mind checking the sourcing. Yeah, the other side of this, I think, the other side of this equation, the other side of this like frustrating reality that we live in, is that people also have this higher priority for video. Audio and video footage is in their minds like not susceptible to deception. Like, they already have completely stopped reading shit. Nobody reads anything anymore, right? But they're like, oh, but I'll still make up my own mind. I'll do my own research by watching a video, not realizing that videos that you watch can absolutely be framed in a certain way. This is the problem with clip culture. The titles don't match the video. People don't watch it, and the comments are removed from the reality of what's happening. Yes. And then people fall by the wayside where they just like go into they go into like an entirely separate, they operate off of an entirely separate faulty understanding of what might have taken place. And then there is already a immediate echo chamber that is designed around it. So then there is this feedback loop when you are in when you're in this totally alternative reality with a bunch of other people, and they all believe it. And therein lies the question, right? Does the truth matter? Or what is the truth? If everyone believes something entirely different, does the truth matter at all? Now, I believe it does, right? I still believe it does. But unfortunately, I think in this current high-paced, deceptive, and incredibly polarized media environment, the reality of the matter is the truth is secondary. It's inconsequential. What matters is the narrative. Narrative overcomes truth. And this is something that obviously I cover quite extensively and have for my entire professional media career. This is one of the things that I care about the most is misinformation and how biased misinformation and serial misinformers actually end up gaining prominence or even like changing mainstream narratives. And because mainstream media has completely dropped the ball over and over and over again with trying to desperately frame certain things that we can all see in a totally different light. I'm of course talking about Israel, right? They have lost all credibility in the eyes of many people. And now, because they've lost all credibility in the eyes of many people, there is no like anchor point that we can go to establish consensus reality. So now consensus reality is achieved by who gets to be first to market and who gets to really pummel a narrative, who gets to really drive home a narrative over and over again. And if you lean into preconceived biases, if you lean into motivated reasoning, if you lean into like people's prior understandings of, like, for example, white supremacist social constructs, people's previous understandings of like how Somalis operate. Maybe they are tricksters. Maybe they are indecent. Maybe they are here for some nefarious purpose. And if you already have that suspicion and then it's tied to a real case, a real investigation with real people that have done a real crime, right? It's a perfect opportunity to really fucking drive home a narrative that all Somalis are doing welfare fraud. Welfare is bad across the board because it's subject to abuse. These people are all a part of it. They're all in on it. And we have to be suspicious about every single one of them and maybe even denaturalize a good chunk of them and deport them from this country. Perfect example. A racist lobtuber meets a fan in a scary Muslim neighborhood, reframes it for the thumbnail as an ISIS encounter. Compare the YouTube thumbnail with the actual footage in the video. Avoid this place in London. Oh, he like put a balaclava on him. Oh, and then he put like Arabic lettering on all the, oh God, it's so, yeah, it changed all the text to make it Arabic. Changed all the signs. In the actual video is a fan of his, and the signs are obviously in English. Yeah. Oh my God, the guy on the bike recognized him and was happy to see him. He's such a dickhead even to his fans. And it's kind of like it's basically gotten to a point where it doesn't really matter what the adults are saying. It doesn't really matter what the truth is. It doesn't really matter that like there are some people who are sincerely trying to set the record straight. What just really matters is vibes. What matters is like who is gaining prominence, gaining popularity. There is no sincere effort or interest in trying to comprehend exactly what's going on. And I mean, there are obviously still people who care. You're in here right now, right? But I do notice, especially with the younger generation, there's less and less people invested in this. And I think we're heading down a more slop-focused, vibes-focused understanding of the world where whoever is first to market, whoever can establish a more compelling narrative, a more interesting narrative, especially one that leans into pre-established norms and pre-established social learned behavior, white supremacy, patriarchy, like right-wing shit in general is going to always win out. As I always say, it's much more difficult. It's much more difficult to explain to people the reasons as to why I am anti-Israel. The reasons as to why many of you are anti-Israel. We're anti-Israel because we're anti-Zionist. We're anti-Israel because we're anti-imperialist. But for Americans, it's much easier to tell them like we're anti-Israel because we're anti-Jew, because Jews control America. So many more Americans have tuned into that narrative. They've tuned into that mentality. And that's a dangerous mentality to uphold. Like people don't just go, oh, I'm anti-genocide or I'm anti-capitalist or I'm anti-Zionist, I'm anti-imperialist. They become anti-Jewish. It's much easier to hit an anti-Israel narrative from the perspective of anti-Semitism than it is to explain to people anti-Israel narratives from the perspective of why it's bad and wrong to do a genocide, why it's bad and wrong to give unlimited funds and support to this vassal state. So that's where we're at. And I don't know. I think the next meta in the upcoming year 100% is going to be like the Candace Owens meta, right? Israel will farm Islamophobic narratives. You know, I think the Somali stuff even plays a role in that as well, because as I've shown you already, Israel realized that they can't convince Westerners that Israel is good, but they can actually foment anti-Muslim hatred, right? They can keep pumping Islamophobic narratives, and a lot of Americans tune into that. A lot of Westerners tune into that, especially in Europe, right? Now, of course, it's a little different in America because like we don't have the same like migration patterns that Europe has experienced with Muslims coming into the country. So when you try to say like, well, Muslims control this country in the United States of America, most people will laugh at you. At most, they'll be like, yeah, I think they're kind of weird and scary, but I don't think they're controlling the country. It's much easier to convince an American, the average American, that Jews control the country than fucking Muslims, right? So as much as Israel's basically dropped the ball as far as like defending Israel and trying to explain to Americans that Israel is like a viable and very important, necessary ally, they are fomenting a lot of Islamophobic hatred, right? But the alternative to that is the successful alternative to that, the successful counter narrative to that, unfortunately, is not what I'm doing. I'll just admit that, okay? Especially with the post-Charlie Kirk assassination, I have realized that it is totally irrelevant. The truth is totally irrelevant. It is not a successful way to cut through the noise and to get people back on board with what is actually going on. It is so much more effective if your counter narrative is also made up. Candace Owens showed that. Okay, we're living in AK after Kirk. Okay, this is AK1 after Kirk. Charlie Kirk got assassinated. The American government very clearly had an interest in making him out to be a martyr by force. And they wanted to say that he was killed because of the wave of anti-Trump narratives, the hatred that the left was creating against the Trump administration and Republicans in general. They want to kill you. They hate you. And yet all of those narratives fell by the wayside because Candace Owens came out and straight up said, nah, it was Israel. And then she didn't just stop there. She was like, nah, it's Israel, it's the Jews. And everybody tuned into it. Everybody was like, you know what? That actually makes a lot more sense. A smaller version of that I also saw, I also experienced, was in the immediate aftermath when there was like a time period before they figured out who the shooter was, where everyone was saying this is a transgender Antifa super soldier, to figuring out who the shooter was, and then they found out that he was like from a good family, good stock, white Mormon kid, right? Allegedly. And in that moment, everyone was like, maybe this guy's a groyper. Maybe a groyper killed him. And then a lot of liberals believe that. A lot of liberals were like, oh yeah, this is a Nick Fuentes a super soldier that actually killed Charlie Kirk. And that was also interesting because while it wasn't as, while it wasn't as like mass adopted as the Israel killed Charlie Kirk actually narratives, there was definitely a 24-hour news cycle where a lot of liberals learned about what groypers were and genuinely thought, oh, this got to be a Nick Fuentes fan. Once again, proving to me and everyone who was paying close attention to this stuff that it is much easier to destroy biased narratives on the right by coming out with a false narrative on the left. And that's what's really interesting. I think that we're going to see that more and more. I think like conspiracy theories that are grand, that are increasingly more insane, will be the most effective way to control narratives in the upcoming decade, if we make it out that far. Yeah, it's also much easier to convince Americans that Israel is controlling the USA than it is to convince them that our government supports what Israel does, right? Speaking of which,
it'll continue.
Let's take a look.
Thank you very
Benjamin
much,
Netanyahu,
thank you,
international war criminal, is currently shaking hands with Donald Trump.
I have to say that
they're in the White House. They talked the entire morning.
I have to say that,
and they're live now.
In addition to what I said, that we've never had a friend, even close, a friend, as President Trump in the White House. I think he's been extraordinary in his friendship and his support for Israel. His principled positions.
I don't know if they're in the Mar-a-Lago. I think they're in the White House, no?
His willingness
or
to
are they in
just cut
Mar-a-Lago?
through,
Oh, yeah, they're in Mar-a-Lago. They're in
get to the
Florida. You're
essence
right.
of things, and I don't say that as a compliment. I just mean it. People have heard me say that behind your back, Mr. President, many times. But I want to say something else. I think we have a partnership, if I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite. He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're
Don't
with
they
you.
secretly hate each other? None of that
And
matters,
we'll
brother. What are you
continue to
talking
be
about?
with you, and a lot of good things are happening.
You're watching.
in the Middle East.
You're
We have peace
watching
in the Middle
a
East,
double
and we're
dick
gonna try and
suck.
keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel, and it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks.
This isn't going to stop the spitting on
appreciation.
non-Israelis? No.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because
I actually agree with them getting this
pretty
prize
much
one,
we agree on most of the
10,000%.
things,
This
and
will
you
be a
would
stinking
know
and
what
never
most
wash
of those
off.
things are. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time. Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that settler violence, Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan?
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion for a
Oh,
long
a
time
big
on
one.
the West Bank.
Oh, yeah. He
And I
gave him a
wouldn't say
stern
we
talking
agree
to.
on
They're
the
going to
West
stop
Bank
any day now. The
100%.
settlers are going to stop
But we,
being ruthless.
We'll come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
If I could ask, what is the decision?
Remember,
Well, I don't wanna
every
do
single
that.
thing.
It'll
This
be
is, in many respects,
at an
not
appropriate
even
time.
remotely
He will
different
do
than the
the right
Russia-Ukraine
thing. I know that. I know him
conversation,
very well. He will
where
do the right thing.
there's no new development, right? Like there's no real new development. He'll just say whatever the fuck he needs to say to shut people the fuck up. The reality of the matter is Israel does what Israel wants, and no one can
Well, I
actually
know
say anything
President
about it.
Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine.
He'll just say
And,
like,
I
"Oh yeah, no,
believe
I'm
that,
gonna." I
and
talked
do
to him.
respect him,
I
and
talked to him real.
he respects
Gave him
him.
a stern talking to. It doesn't
And
matter. None of it is.
They're
It's
not
all
going to have
bullshit.
a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well, and you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen.
Even like forcing Benjamin Netanyahu's hand to only annex half of Gaza and not the entirety of Gaza, which is what happened with this so-called peace process,
Well, I'm not concerned
was
with
actually a PR move, not necessarily a PR move to start making Israel look good again, right? Because they're not going to be able to do that. But it was basically a moment where the Trump administration had to be like, listen, guys, like we're with you all the way, 100% of the way, but like it's gotten to a point where like you're gonna lose everybody. Okay, you're gonna lose everybody if you keep the death and destruction. At least you can keep killing people during the peace process, but like it will be sidelined. Okay, it won't be that big of a story if you just keep quietly assassinating people, and the mainstream media won't cover it as much.
It's not trying to build up, as I've been reading, that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites.
But then again, the whole point of the meeting today that's taking place is most likely to see how much more they can escalate conflict.
37-hour trip.
How much more they can escalate the conflict in Gaza, like how much more they can intensely bomb Gaza and like overtake the rest of the Gaza Strip, I suspect. But also beyond that, I think it's more so to just like go and nuke Iran out of orbit.
Can you clarify to us? Did you talk
Which
about
request are you talking about?
Dead-on analysis, but why did Hamas agree to it? Out of options.
President Herzog. Did you talk with him directly?
Out of options, and also too many civilians were slaughtered. Too many civilians were slaughtered. They were running out of time. They were running out of hope. They were running out of options. They decided to stop the ethnic cleansing, knowing full well that there's no real like disarmament that's going to take place. Because like, what are they going to do? Take the small arms away from the Gaza Strip? They don't have like. They don't have rocket. They don't have like actual missile launchers and shit. You know what I mean? You can't really like disarm this group.
Those are not good odds.
Also, the other Arab countries leaned in and pushed in that direction as well.
To really carry through.
And Turkey
and
too.
Really help Israel through this horrible jam. You know, these are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with Soleimani. That was really where you mentioned that today, which started with Soleimani. Bad guy, doing bad things, hurting a lot of people, killing American soldiers and other soldiers. But it started right there, would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister.
Oh,
that's a big statement, but to me, it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding.
Imagine
if they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And you know, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now. So it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
This poll showed that as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans would leave.
I heard that number today. Half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that it was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting. Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now, we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Point of understanding regarding Syria.
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, you know, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. You know, he was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along. I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists, we don't have attacks, and we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too.
Yeah, especially in the Middle East, like the Christian Palestinians, Bibi.
Don't
The
forget,
fuck?
it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with. I mean, I know it.
Yeah, notice that they
And,
just
President Erdogan should get a
obviously
lot of
there's
good
no
credit
safety and
for
security
what
for the
he did. He
Muslims.
got
That's not a
rid
thing.
of some very bad people, and you know they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria, President Erdogan did it, and we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit, but I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
Mr. President, about Lebanon.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
The Lebanese government is not meeting the terms of the ceasefire agreement, has failed to disarm Hezbollah, actually. In your view, should Israel strike the terrorist organization again?
Well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about it. The Lebanese government is at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you think of it, with Hezbollah. But Hezbollah has been behaving badly, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, God. I got to pee.
Are you closer to another operation of Israel in Iran? You said before the meeting with Netanyahu that you are in support of Israel if the ballistic missile project will take on and also the nuclear weapon. But after the meeting, after what you know from the intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. You know, consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah. And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
What do you mean by that?
This is just what we hear. But usually where there's smoke, there's fire. Have you heard the expression? Well, no, I'm hearing that they're not nuclear yet, but maybe nuclear too. The sites were obliterated, but they're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking. So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake. Yeah, please. There's no reason for them to do it.
Mr. President, is the United States currently open to engaging in bilateral discussions with Tehran? We're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support, or
Yeah,
something that is
I would.
happening? You
Sure.
would support that?
I would,
happening
yes.
Right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, baby, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen. Yes, ma'am.
Exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China
Well, I have a
about
great
that?
relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it, and I don't believe he's going to be doing it. No, nothing worries me. Nothing.
So if you're encircled, if you're doing naval exercises and air exercises.
Well, they've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but
what
in
is
fact,
this fucking
larger than
sound
they're doing right
regulation
now.
here?
So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years. Yeah.
Disarm in that short amount of time that you're giving them. Can you tell us what the
You
next
look like
steps
you have
would
mad
be?
hemorrhoids. What is that?
Horrible
What?
for
How?
them.
What is the specific
Horrible.
look to having a hemorrhoid?
It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't.
I've
want
never
that to
heard that
happen.
one before. That's
but
a
they
new
made
one.
an agreement that they were going to disarm, and you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, "Let us do it for you." If they don't, countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm, and now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel. You know, we have many countries, 59 countries that are in agreement. This is a real peace in the Middle East. And Hamas is a small part of it, but it's still a part of it. But we have 59 countries that signed on, big countries, countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They want to go in and wipe out Hamas. They don't want Israel. They don't need Israel. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do, because they were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas. Yeah.
President Trump, do you think that the PA should be involved in the day after in Gaza Strip, even in the near future? And the same question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, Mimi.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks, open up.
Dog,
different
you need
society.
denazification. Israel needs the actual reforms. The fuck are we talking about, man? What is this? I don't know if you saw it. Oh, yeah, no, I did. Yeah. I think I have it here, or maybe not.
And they were put then in the 20 points. And it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed.
CNN broadcast audio of Trump obviously obliviously announcing land strikes on Venezuela during an obscure radio interview last Friday.
People.
What the
I know
fuck?
them very well. I know them. They're great people. They wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige. I don't want to use the word humiliation because, you know, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake. You know, when they wiped out Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq.
Why is
And all of
U.S.
a
so
sudden,
public with
Iran had the
Israel?
whole Middle
Brother,
East
you know what it's like?
that's
You know when you have like a, let me think. Who's like a celebrity that's like a serial abuser, right? When you have like a celebrity that's like a serial abuser, that's like a really bad person, but then they still keep getting jobs and they still keep getting brought on, and then people inevitably just like lose sight of that. A lot of people are saying Chris Brown, sure, right? People keep putting him on. This is basically what the United States of America is doing with Israel, because the United States of America is putting its arms around Israel because it's the most dominant country on the planet. That's the reason why they keep openly posturing this way. That's the reason why they keep flexing their relationship over and over and over again. The reason why they're doing that is so that, you know, everybody else understands that Israel is under the protectorate of the United States of America. They can do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter if you don't like that they've done a genocide. It doesn't matter if you don't appreciate the way they conduct themselves. None of it fucking matters, because the big dog in the room is attached at the hip to Israel.
You've said
And
that
that's
you have
precisely what's happening here. Okay, that
also doing
they don't care. They don't care about like, oh, the negative PR or whatever. They don't give a shit. It's America. What are you gonna do?
But in the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We
What
have
are
$18
Americans gonna
trillion
do?
coming
Right?
in. We had a
It's not like we can do anything about it. What can we do about it as Americans? We have a lot of distaste for this. We have a lot of anger and resentment for this kind of thing. And yet, nothing changes.
We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that.
Bro, it's a flex too. I think this is a
Building
flex
a
just
new
like
Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building.
everything that they're doing
He's up to 4.1
reads to me like they're just basically flexing the power that they have, the control that they have. I mean, think about it. The past 2 weeks of news coverage, revolved around Jeffrey Epstein and Trump's administration directly, Trump's DOJ directly defending co-conspirators, hiding their names. Okay? And it doesn't even fucking matter.
150 years.
Like, we have a pedophile protectorate in the White House. And it doesn't matter. None of it fucking matters. Nothing matters. He's stealing oil from countries that we've declared foreign adversaries, potentially seeking to invade random Latin American countries, right? None of it fucking matters. The economy is dog shit, and it still doesn't matter. Everyone is so locked in on the slop that they're consuming, in the mere moments that they have to themselves, and the moments that they have to themselves where they're not actually worried about, their financial troubles and making sure that they still have a roof over their heads or a hot meal in front of them. They're just invested in the slop. It's too difficult for people to just tune in to exactly who is ruining their lives, to figure out who's exactly ruining their lives. Even if the people that are ruining their lives are doing it out in broad daylight, openly stating it, openly saying, what are you going to fucking do about it? Now, I don't know if things will change. I think there could come a point where, at least if the economy is really bad, if it gets to a point where it's so bad that people are genuinely suffering, like Great Depression style, because we're not there yet. The wealth disparity leading up to the Great Depression was not as bad as the wealth disparity that exists now. Having said that, for the poorest Americans and for the middle class Americans, they are not as they're not suffering as bad as they were during the Great Depression. And I think if they got there, if it got to that point, and it potentially could, then you would see some real revolts. And I don't know if those revolts would be directed at those in positions of power or directed at random people and groups, like minority groups that have no power whatsoever but have been vilified endlessly by this administration and by the right-wing propaganda over and over again. But basically, things are still nowhere near as bad, I think. They're not bad enough, rather, for people to actually revolt and rise up.
After the Turkey, are you going to approve a selling of F-35 to the Turkish?
We're thinking about it very seriously.
And what is
What
your,
prevented
reaction to this?
They'll never use it.
He's robbing the American people blind. Yeah. Here's a great example of this, right? Here's a great example of this. Donald Trump is a fucking open fraudster, right? We know he is. We know he doesn't pay his taxes. We know he doesn't pay his contractors. We know that he is currently using the executive office to cut deals for himself, right? To the tune of billions of dollars, as a matter of fact. He's done fucking cryptocurrency schemes. And yet a lot of people, even liberals, like, they get mad at that, but they don't get mad at that much. But the very same institutions that are also actively stealing money from Americans' pockets, people like Elon Musk that actually came to power, not elected, mind you, but appointed to a seat of power specifically to fire people at the federal government, are running around hyping up the narrative that, like, every Somali in America is actively robbing the welfare coffers blind. Okay? pointing to a real instance of corruption and a real instance of welfare fraud to drive home this narrative that actually it's not the wealthy guys you got to worry about, it's the Somalis. And Americans immediately fucking lean into it. I was thinking about this. It's like Islamophobia. There's a concept of goy-slop that the neo-Nazis have come up with, where it's kind of funny. They just like say it's a distraction. It's basically the version of it's basically the what do you call it? The version of distraction or a red herring, but in a edgy like neo-Nazi kind of way. Right? Peach is trying to call. What happened? Hold on. I thought the Goyslop people were doing a bit until I just realized it's blatant anti-Semitism. No, it is, yeah. Wait, what? Hold on.
Trump greeting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in front of Mar-a-Lago. The two are meeting today, hoping to make some progress on moving toward step 2 of the ceasefire plan. The president's talking right now. Let's see if we can listen in.
For last 3 days.
President Trump, are you going to have
Quickly as we can, but there has to be a disarmament, that we have to disarm with Hamas. So one of the things we'll talk about, certainly, but there has to be a disarming of Hamas. Otherwise, very quickly, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter, but there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the...
That's crazy. She's not muted. You don't have to mute. I know, but I didn't know what was going on, okay? Dummies. I didn't know what the fuck was actually happening. I thought it was a serious thing. I read the transcript. Peach apparently called me, okay? I wasn't paying attention. I read the transcript of her phone call because she left a voicemail, which was on stream apparently on her side. Hey, Hassan, it's me and Christian on the side of the road right now. We just got T-boned and my cards aren't working and Austin won't pick up his phone and is bleeding out right now. So can you call me back? We just really need some help right now. Thank you. That's the transcript I read of the voicemail, and I got worried, so I muted I muted the stream to call them to see what the fuck was going on, only to realize that it was actually fake when she started asking me for $20. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's crazy. Anyway, it's also believable because Christian has been in accidents, so I genuinely believed it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me Christian's been in a car accident. I'm gonna believe you. Anyway, okay. That's homophobic? Yeah, okay. Is the audio of the voicemail listenable? It is. I just didn't listen to it because I was live on stream trying to fucking make sense of what was going on. Last time we believe women here. Yeah. Congratulations, Peach Jars. I will no longer be believing women. This is an anti-believing women now. Are you mad at them? No, I'm not mad at them. I don't give a shit. All right, let's continue.
Area, it's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around. I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have any information?
No, I don't know about it, actually, and I don't, I just heard about it, actually, but I don't know about it. No. That would be too bad. That would not be good.
What was the outcome of your telephone call?
That would be too bad. That would not be good.
Talk this morning. I waited till this morning because it was pretty late by the time we finished, like 2:30 in Russia, 2:30 in the morning. And we had a very good talk. We spoke at 8 o'clock in the morning hour time, and it was a very productive talk. I mean, we have a few very thorny issues, as you can imagine. He knows about thorny issues probably better than anybody in the world, but it's working out. We have a couple of issues that we're going to get resolved, hopefully, and if we get them resolved, you're going to have peace. You're going to have Ukraine. They're losing 26,000 soldiers a month. Can you believe it? A month, 26,000 young, beautiful soldiers. And
wait, what is this? Stop beginning Peachy stream crying, you fucking parasocial weirdos. Oh my God. We will ban every single person that is doing that. Okay? Every single person that's doing that, you will get banned here. Do not fucking do dumb shit like that. What the fuck's wrong with you guys, bro? It's fine. Be fucking normal. What is happening? Do not. Oh my God. I wish, like, I was thinking about this morning. It's like people don't have the appropriate level of smoke for like actual political actors, right? They have way more smoke for. They have way more fucking smoke for my friends and people who are aligned with them politically than they do for like actual people on the opposing side, you know? Preserve your energy and use it in the appropriate direction. Like even when people were like yelling about Atrioc, right? Earlier or yesterday, he is like by and large a dude that has like pretty decent politics. Like what do you think is going to happen when you're fucking yelling at him? Like there's no reason to yell at him. Go fucking yell at the people that are making the fucking right-wing propaganda or the people who are promoting the right-wing propaganda as opposed to Atrioc. But of course, you probably, once again, have more of an opportunity to have him hear your anger and resentment. So you're going to use it on him. You're going to expend the limited amount of time and energy that you have on someone like that. Chad is not listening to you, Hasanabi. Jesus Christ, dude. God, I hate Twitch streaming. I genuinely, maybe 2026, I just quit. Maybe 2026, I just quit Twitch streaming and I just go to like either full-time video on demand YouTube videos or just like go away entirely. I can't. It's so lame. It's so shitty. Everything sucks. Everything fucking sucks. Move to TikTok? Yeah, let me move to fucking TikTok after Larry Ellison bought it. World's hardest job? No, but it is so annoying, you know? It's not the world's hardest job. It's a super easy job, right? It's just like, but it's just so fucking annoying. We know you won't. You need the live feedback attention too much, big bro. No, I mean, that's not the reason why I do this. I think the format that I have chosen to do this is not because I love the fucking real-time feedback, even though that does play a big role in my commentary. I think it's good to hear from different perspectives in real time while I'm in the process of covering the news. Anyway, so many people lose their income without you. I know every single one of my haters would probably fucking off themselves if I quit.
Some people in Kiev, and relatively small, but a lot, you know, still people, and it's a lot of people. But 26,000 soldiers were killed last month. Yes, please.
President Trump, are you going to allow Turkish forces, and do you expect Turkish forces to be stationed in Gaza?
So I have a great relationship with President Erdogan, and we'll be talking about it. And if it's good, I think that's good. And a lot will be having to do with Bibi. We're going to be talking about that. But Turkey's been great, and he's been, you know, excellent as far as I'm concerned. I don't know
about your relationship.
No. He's not mogging. His mandible is recessed. Random thought. Do they not want Turkey and Gaza specifically because of NATO concerns? They seem fine with other U.S. allies being there. Oh, no. I think it's more so drama between the two different vassals. Israel and Turkey have drama, specifically in Syria, where they both have different ambitions and different designs for what must take place in Syria. And I think there is already like there's a lot of back and forth there, so that would heat up. That would reach a boiling point if the Turkish army was deployed to the Gaza Strip, and then obviously they're not going to fucking fight against the Palestinians there. That's never going to happen, right? You have a higher likelihood of having the United Arab Emirates and the Saudi militaries actively fighting against Palestinian military or Palestinian militancy than you do with the Turkish army. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I just don't think that would happen. So they would end up most likely being against Israel. Like there would be an inevitable conflict between a NATO military, the Turkish military, and Israel, for sure. And then that's a much larger crisis. Israel, Cyprus, and Greece signed a mid-sea defense pact. They keep crying about Turkey on Hebrew media. Yeah, no, there's a lot of conflict in the region between Turkey and Israel, and it's really interesting because they're both American servants. They both play a major role in advancing America's interests in the region, and yet there is a lot of there's a lot of back and forth in terms of like who gets to be the top dog. And I think Israel will always win that argument no matter what happens. They have divergent interests in Syria. I imagine that has a lot to do with it. I mean, their divergent interests are technically their divergent interests in Turkey. There's also a divergent interest in Somalia. I think that's another big one too, because Turkey has a lot of ties to the current Somali government, and Israel's recognition of Somaliland is a foothold for Israel to have at least some kind of control on the other side of the entry point into the Red Sea, against like a line of defense against Yemen and the Houthis. So everywhere, like both Israel and Turkey are in line with America's goals in the region, and they play a very important role in advancing America's goals in the region. They're both anti-Iran, for example. There's never been a moment where like the Turkish military was like pro-Iran at all. They've always been anti-Iran, right? And obviously Israel has also always been anti-Iran. So they have similar, they have the same exact interest in advancing America's interest in the region. They also have similar enemies in the region. But ultimately, I think they're just trying to be the number one lapdog for America, if that makes sense. And in that battle, Israel's always going to win out. Turkey will always get little broed. I mean, obviously, they have a much larger army, and they're trying to play a bigger role in Ukraine. And also, they have this almost neutral position on Russia as well. So they get to be a middleman between Russia and Ukraine in some ways. And I mean, Turkey played a major role in taking out Bashar al-Assad in Syria and gift wrapped Syria for America and Israel. And yet Israel has expanded further and further into Syria. Turkey's goals for Syria, of course, is to create a buffer zone in the northern Syrian corridor, where they can resettle the Syrian refugees, many of them of Sunni descent that escaped into Turkey. 10 million of them were housed in Turkey, which was obviously another opportunistic move from Erdogan. It wasn't like a humanitarian thing at all. He was doing that so he could have some kind of leverage over the European the EU nations, and he did use that aggressively. There's also the Rojava element here, where they do not want the Kurdish militias at all. They do not want there to be any sort of nation state development or any sort of autonomous zone developed in that area for the Kurds. And that's a major point of contention. HTS does not have any power to actually deal with the Kurds at all either. So he is, or not HTS, sorry, Jolani slash, his new name is what? Ahmed Shara, or his old name is Ahmed Shara, whatever. Shara, Jolani, whatever you want to fucking call him. Jolensky does not have any power and can't really do anything to satiate the appetite of the Turkish government in terms of giving them the buffer zone, right? That's like Syrian territory. Turkey also wants a unified Syrian state to prevent Kurdish autonomy in the northeast and use Syria as both a buffer zone and a subservient market like they used previous Idlib administered areas as. Yes. But they also, like I said, want to resettle a lot of the Syrian refugees that are still in Turkey into that buffer zone. And I don't think Israel wants that for some reason. I don't think Israel wants Turkey to have any sort of foothold in Syria. They just don't want Turkey to be a regional power in Syria at all. So they are pushing back and aggressively, doing Israel shit. Israel wants greater Israel. Israel's going to keep bombing Syria to achieve greater Israel. So, yeah. The difference, of course, between Turkey and Israel is that Turkey does not have a APAC, right? At most, what Turkey has been able to do in terms of of intervening in American domestic affairs was Eric fucking Adams, right? A low level guy from, I think he was in Brooklyn as a council member, right? And then he lucked into the mayoral position, and then Turkey basically turned around and used that for small deals, and they offered him free Turkish Airlines flights and free hotels and shit like that. In exchange for that, Eric Adams gave Turkey what? An assurance that he would not recognize the Armenian genocide, and also fast-tracked their fire inspections. That's it. To understand how different of a playing field Turkey is playing against Israel in terms of any sort of domestic lobbying front, they're not even on the same planet, So that's the situation. I do think that, like I said, I do think that Turkey is trying to be a larger player. They're doing their very best, but they're not. They're nowhere near as successful in lobbying the American government. Abi, I do not think Erdogan cares where Syrian people live. They are more likely to be interested in populating the Syrian areas with radical Islamist militants who depend on Turkey for legitimacy and are committed to creating an Islamic state more than anything. I don't think Israel's goals are in conflict with Erdogan. Well, they sure seem to be fighting over it. I think even if they're not in conflict with one another, Israel doesn't seem to think so, because they are definitely trying to... Maybe Israel thinks they can use the Kurdish nation state as like a separate power against Iran, because there's a lot of Kurdish militias that they use in Iran as well. And obviously the Kurds have been historically a partner to American intervention in the region, only to get dropped the moment that America's interest wanes, or the moment that they want to offer Turkey something as a gift. And I suspect that in an effort to continue using Kurds as an American proxy in Iran, they keep floating the idea of like an autonomous region in Rojava. And I suspect that Israel wants that too, because I do see a lot of like pro-Kurdish nationalist sentiment from Israel too. So that's what it... And obviously Turkey doesn't want that. Turkey doesn't want that at all. Turkey would only allow any sort of like autonomous region, in my opinion, if it was backed by a Kurdish leadership that is subservient to the Turkish state and their interests. And that's never going to happen, because any sort of Kurdish nation state that will develop in the region will be developed in the region will develop along the same boundaries as like Israel. That is the goal that Americans have, if at all. And the only thing stopping that from happening is Turkey refusing to let that happen. What do you make of the peace deal with the PKK? Oh, that was an American gift back to Erdogan, so we could win some domestic points, brownie points. It's not the same as Israel, though, because Kurds are indigenous to the land, Lamau. No, I understand that. Of course, it's not the same as Israel. I'm just saying that the function of a Kurdish nation state, if it was ever allowed to be developed in the region, would play a similar role to Israel. It would operate like a proxy. And I think for the longest time, the reasons why America has never allowed that to happen is because it's more beneficial for America to just keep dangling them as like, militias that can disband or organize as they dangle nation statehood in front of them over and over again, and then just like sell them down the line as the United States of America has been doing, far before this last version of the conflict, right? And that's it. Yeah, they use, they also dangle it against Turkey as a threat too, for sure. What makes you think America was beyond the Turkey-Kurdish rapprochement? I thought that was driven by the hardline conservative Turkish politician. No? Yeah. By Devlet Bahçeli, the leader of the MHP party, which is the ultra-nationalist party. The ultra-nationalist party was almost entirely crafted and supported by the CIA. And in its initial stages of development, it was utilized, not dissimilar to Gladio, against growing Kurdish nationalist movements that were aligning with the socialists. And it was far too close to, obviously, the USSR in proximity for America to not gain a stronger foothold over what eventually became a very valuable NATO partner. A very valuable NATO partner that has, missiles directly pointed at the USSR, or at the time directly pointed at the USSR. Is a hard position for the Kurds, Druze, Somalilanders, etc. to begin with. They have so few friends and can't really be picky with who they accept help from, but they also don't exactly love Israel or the U.S. and don't want to be under their influence. I don't know why my people are bitch-ass clowns. They keep being used like a fleshlight, then thrown out, absolutely useless. I don't know why Westerners treat us like we're some amazing group of people who are all socialists or libs. They don't realize we ruled by a bunch of militaristic mobs who coincidentally also work for the CIA, so the pro-Kurdish propaganda in the West is usually trying to advance their own interests rather than anything good for the region. Yeah. This is also true. But also the nationalistic, the ultra-nationalists were the ones who actually reached out and said Abdullah Öcalan, the jailed leader of the PKK, okay, was willing to cut a deal to disarm Kurdish militias in the region. Okay, it's really interesting that it was the ultra nationalists that did that. Right? They are the biggest ops of the Kurds in Turkey. They're the biggest ops of the Kurds in general. Right? They're a part of the leadership coalition alongside Erdogan. So the very fact that he was the one who did this, as the fucking, handpicked, as this shadow says, handpicked Gladio agent. I do not think PKK leader has any interest in actually solving the Kurdish question either. Erdogan doesn't care about it either. Talks between PKK and the state are behind closed doors, and all the rhetoric refer to Kurdish question as a matter of terrorism. Neither the Öcalan nor Erdogan are developing a framework for equal citizenship. Yeah. Devlet Bahçeli is literally a handpicked Gladio agent, so much so that Alparslan Türkeş, who offered himself to the embrace of NATO as a part of Gladio, called Bahçeli an agent. The ultra-nationalist movement in the country in Turkey is directly aligned with the State Department. And Erdogan also comes from the other side of American State Department intervention. Him and Fethullah Gülen come from the same background, the Islamist movement in Turkey. And that was also another CIA operation in the country. And if you are wondering why there's so much CIA intervention and involvement in Turkey, well, it's a NATO country. And as I was describing to you, it was important to make sure that Turkey did not fall to the pesky socialists, okay, to the scary socialists. And therefore, they quickly ensured that the armed, straight up terrorist gang members that were the ultra-nationalists would fucking dominate any kind of pro-Kurdish movement, any kind of socialist movement, any kind of trade unionist movement, which they did very successfully. And then from that point on, anyone that had any motion in Turkish politics was basically at most a fucking liberal that presented themselves as a social democrat. Not dissimilar to other European countries where similar things took place in Western Europe specifically.
For you to see him be pardoned by the Israeli president?
Look, he's a wartime prime minister. He's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, MHP is still ultra-nationalist, but they're relatively moderate because the new version of that is Zafer, which is like the new Hitler youth There are many Israel supporters among them. I know. They all came after me in the beginning. Yeah, there's also another meta that's even more fucking ultranationalist than the ultranationalist party that has gained the attention of a lot of young people. It's like an online phenomena in the country. And those were the guys who were like so anti-Arab that, I mean, there's a lot of people in Turkey that are anti-Arab, let's be real. Part of that is because the Syrian refugees that came in were presented as like a move, an Islamist move by the Erdogan administration, as though he has any care or consideration for Muslims anywhere around the world. Let's be fucking real, he doesn't. But yeah, you called them dogs, Lamau. Yeah, I said they were dogs to America, and they got so mad. Yeah, I said they were. I mean, it's funny because they call me İngiliz uşağı, which means a servant of England, which is pretty funny. But I called them. Abi hala onunla biliyorsun burada sıfır konteks, sıfır nuance. Evet. Turks still get fucking sensitive about that. When I said you are a dog to America for being pro-Israel. This was right after October 7. And there were anti-Arab Turks in my chat, like nationalist Turks in my chat yelling at me because they were saying shit like, they were saying stuff like, what were they saying? They were basically saying like, oh, if you love the Arabs so much, why don't you go fight in Palestine? Like that's the type of shit that they were saying. Was Saudi Arabia's role in all this, you think? I mean, they're also servile. Saudi Arabia is servile. All of these guys. Lots of libs in Turkey, huh? I mean, there's liberals in Turkey, but there's a lot of nationalists in Turkey as well. Turkish nationalism is very different. Like, it's not... coming from that background of the United States of America, I always laugh about American patriotism because Americans are far too invested in burger to actually fucking develop like a real nationalist movement. They don't have any sort of like national mythos that they identify with in the same way that like Turks do, because Turks have like thousands of years of history that they can point to, like Panturanist attitudes that they can point to. It's just not even a fucking... There's no comparison. Like, it's just not a thing. Americans are far too invested in eating jalapeno poppers to be as nationalist as like average European even. It's pretty funny. Like there's not enough history there to even concoct some sort of like a mythos, even though that hasn't really stopped Nazi Germany from building one whole cloth out of nothing. You know, the Viking Nordic shit. But ultimately the real reason why I think Americans are disorganized is that nationalism requires a sense of discipline and a sense of order and an investment in the myth, the national myth, the superiority myth. Like Americans are white supremacists, but even that's like secondary. They're far too. That's why I say the American civic religion is capitalism. It's not nationalism. It's like pure capitalism. Are Ulusalis like Pirinçek also CIA backed? No, they're fucking super. Pirinçek is like super anti-NATO, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they're CIA backed. Maybe I'm wrong though, but I don't think they're CIA backed. I think, what do you mean? They literally, didn't one of those guys kidnap like one of his followers literally kidnapped like an American Marine outside of a NATO base. They fucking put a bag over his head and like beat his ass and kidnapped him. I don't think they're CIA.
Taken Israel through a very dangerous period of trauma. Israel with other people might not exist right now, if you want to know the truth. That's a pretty big statement, but it's true. I feel that. You had the wrong prime minister. Israel right now would not exist because they were met with a force the likes of which very few countries could have handled, and we worked together. And we were extremely victorious. Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening. I heard Iran wants to make a deal. If they want to make a deal, that's much smarter. You know, they could have made a deal the last time before we went through, a big attack on them. And they decided not to make the deal. They wish they made that deal. So I think, again, they should make a deal. They want to make a deal.
when he keeps saying Israel wouldn't exist. And for me, it's like, bro, don't threaten me with a good time. You know what I mean? Do you know how many people hear that and go, oh my God, that would be amazing?
But sometimes that doesn't happen. Yeah, please.
Mr. Trump, right, Nadav Elimelech, 24 News Israel. Would you support the overthrow of the Iranian regime?
Who?
Iranian regime.
I'm not going to talk about overthrow of a regime. They've got a lot of problems that are in. They have tremendous inflation. Their economy is bust. Their economy is no good. And I know that people aren't so happy, but don't forget, every time they have a riot or somebody forms a group, little or big, they start shooting people. You know, they kill people. And the people tend to, I've watched this for years. There's tremendous discontent. They form 100,000, 200,000 people. All of a sudden, people start getting shot. And that group disbands pretty quickly. So I've watched it for years. They're vicious, vicious people, yeah.
Mr. President, Israeli attack on Iran if Iran will not have a deal. If Iran will continue with their ballistic missiles and also nuclear weapons.
If they will continue with the missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast. Okay? One will be yes, absolutely. The other was, we'll do it immediately.
From Channel 12 News, what are your plans regarding Gaza for the next few weeks?
Well, we're going to be dealing on Gaza. That's why this very great prime minister is here right now. We're talking about Gaza. We're talking about a lot of things. We have about 5 major subjects that we're discussing, and Gaza will be one of those subjects.
Mr. President, can you guarantee that the last hostages, Anne Philip, will be released before we continue to the second phase of the Gaza plan?
Well, let's put it this way. Every hostage.
Trump is hype mogging him. That's true. He is actually hype maxing.
Just about that's been released was released because of me, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, my whole team, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth. They were all released because of us. None were released in the Biden administration. None. They were all released because of us. Then we had a lack of releases with respect to the dead. And all of a sudden they started coming back because I said, nope, you said you were going to. We have one wonderful young man whose parents are right now inside. And he's, what beautiful parents, a beautiful brother, sister, and like a beautiful family, and they're waiting for their son. It's the only one left, and we're doing everything we can to get his body back. And the parents just said, hopefully he's alive. And I said, I'd love you to think that way. Okay?
President
so we're
Trump.
doing everything we can.
Do you have President Trump?
So I think this upcoming year is going to be a pretty big one because the Obama 10-year defense pact that was $30 billion is finally coming to an end with Israel. Because Obama, on his way out, if you guys recall, he's even though he was considered to be the most anti-Israel president, oh my God, he hates Jews. He hates Jews. Like, that's what they used to say in Israel all the time. And that's what a lot of people used to say about Obama for the crime of stepping out of line and actually doing the JCPOA, the Iran denuclearization agreement. On his way out, he dropped a cool 30 bill, right? Which is nothing, right? I mean, come on. It's anti-Semitic that it wasn't $60 billion. Let's be real. And it was a 10-year contract specifically to refill the Tamir interceptors for the Iron Dome defense. And it was a $30 billion contract over 10 years. Now, of course, those numbers seem marginal. They seem tiny in comparison to how much money Brandon and then Donald Trump has given to Israel since then. But that contract is coming to an end, right? That contract is now coming to an end because 2026 is when it's going to end. So now Benjamin Netanyahu needs to demand a cool 60 bill this time. Okay. And I guess, is it in 2028? Oh, okay. I thought it was going to end in 2026 because it was in, I guess, like it got implemented in 2028. Is that what it is? Or maybe I'm thinking of something different. It's going to get renewed. Are you fucking kidding me? Yes. they will double up. They will double up. What is a contract? Don't they gift it? Wait, the contract is basically allocating congressional funds. That's what it is. They might triple up. Think about it this way. We squeezed a cool $40 billion to Argentina just to bail out one of Scott Bessent's buddies, okay, who's still holding on to Argentinian debt and does not want the Argentinian country to default, okay? We squeezed out 40 bill for them basically overnight. Why the fuck wouldn't we give Israel $100 billion? I feel like that's the most anti-Semitic thing I've ever heard. If we're giving Argentina 2 infusions of 20 bill at a time when China is literally purchasing their soybeans instead of our soybeans because of the tariffs shit that took place. Because remember, like Donald Trump gave Argentina $40 billion after Argentina was like, oh, we'll sell you the soybeans, China. Like they started selling soybeans to China because China stopped purchasing American soy, right? They got the flags mixed up. That's why Donald Trump gave Argentina $40 billion, because I was like, what is this, the Israeli flag? Is this the Israeli flag? Oh, it's my favorite flag. Give him $40 billion. That's what happened. Yeah, it's same colors, you know? So yeah, when you think about giving Argentina $20 billion, I think it's only $20 billion. I don't think they gave the other $20 billion because of backlash. Well, they were slated to give $40 billion, but maybe they gave a cool $20 billion. Okay, fine. Initially it was supposed to be 20, and then they doubled up on it, right? And maybe they didn't give the second $20 billion. Not that it fucking matters. The very fact that we're giving $20 billion to Argentina to begin with is insane, okay? Now, when you think about that, if you actually think about that though, if you're giving $20 billion to Argentina, you got to give $100 billion to Israel. Okay? You have to. This makes no damn sense. Otherwise, you're anti-Semitic.
Of all of these people, and I'm not just talking about the final 20.
That's also partially why it's so funny when people are just like, I can't believe the amount of fraud that's taking place. The amount of fraud that's taking place. Brother, once again, we're talking multiple billions with a B overnight being fucking shipped off for the hopes and dreams of one guy, or to protect the financial investment of one fucking guy. And you're out here sweating the fucking small stuff. Not to say that like the charity fraud, Medicare fraud, or any number of different like versions of fraud that's taking place on U.S. soil, whether it's done by Somali people or whether it's done by white people, it doesn't fucking matter. Whether it's done by Russian nationals, as though there's another case of fraud there too. Like all of that should be prosecuted. I am in favor of social welfare. I'm in favor of having a strong welfare state, and therefore, of course, I want the fucking people who abuse that structure to be punished. Okay, just so we understand. Having said that, though, if you have smoke for what you foresee or what you are seeing in front of you that's taking place in Minneapolis, you should have the same exact kind of smoke for the Trump administration. You should have the exact same kind of smoke, if not way more, for Elon Musk. You know, these guys are robbing you fucking blind every day of the week. And then they're basically turning your attention over to Minnesomalia, and you're falling for it. You're like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Why is nobody talking about it? Why is nobody covering it? Of course people are covering it. Nobody should be fleecing America and Americans, okay? Nobody should be taking fucking funds away and reappropriating the funds back to their own goddamn pockets. But just wake up, wake up to the reality that there is a reason why they are making you laser focused on this instance of fraud. There's got to be a reason for it, right? Why is it that collectively all of the billionaires like Elon Musk, the entirety of Twitter, Fox News, overnight is like, oh, what about the Somali fraud? What about the Somali style fraud? What about the Somali style fraud? Yeah, okay, investigate and jail the motherfuckers who stole the money. 100%. Okay? And the irony, of course, is that investigation is already being conducted, right? That investigation has been in the works. That investigation started under the Brandonian Department of Justice, ironically enough. And there's still subsequent investigations taking place. Okay? So what you are demanding in that situation, is, ironically enough, something that has already taken place, but they're duping you into thinking that, no such investigation was taking place until some random fucking YouTuber went over and demanded to see children at childcare facilities. Okay? You're distracted. It's impossible to organize in a situation like this. It's impossible to get you to recognize exactly what's going on, and no amount of, hey guys, this is totally fucked up. And I'm glad that there is an investigation that's active, and that Medicare fraud, Medicaid fraud, or any kind of charity fraud is completely unacceptable. Stealing government funds that are supposed to be feeding hungry children, and then, purchasing cars or whatever the fuck, is unacceptable. It's one of the worst things that you can do. You're literally stealing money from hungry children, okay? But one must ask why you didn't hear about it to the same degree when Brett Favre did it. Where were the Republicans when Elon Musk is consistently, where were the Republicans when Elon Musk was consistently demanding more and more money? All of these billionaires do it. This is not a deflection. This is not a distraction. I'm not saying take your attention away from the fraud that took place in Minneapolis, okay? Luckily, as far as we understand, justice is being served in that regard. But just think for a second, who stands to benefit from this? When I'm hyper-focused on this, I'm locked in on this. And what's additionally frustrating about it is that the narratives that I see online are so fucking stupid. They're so dumb. The narratives I see online around this is like, well, nobody was covering this in the news until this fucking YouTuber did it. It's like, no, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Of course the media was covering it. It's ridiculous. You can't be this easily, you can't be this malleable. You cannot be this easily duped. Okay? But unfortunately for a lot of people, they are this easily malleable, this easily duped, this easily distracted. They can be, though. No, I know. I see it. I'm talking about it right now. Not only was this here, this is another thing I was going to point to. Like, I have journalists that have been reaching out to me over this too, because they're so fucking pissed off about this. But here's a list of news outlets who have not covered Nick Shirley's fraud story: New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC, NPR, USA Today, Reuters, Axios, ABC News, PBS. Every single one of them wrote stories on an Elon Musk hand gesture. Do you get it yet? Every single major outlet covered the welfare fraud story. What they didn't do is go to a goddamn random medical plaza, harass the staff working there, and think out loud about how strange it is that a bunch of healthcare service offices would be in a medical plaza. Not only was there no mention of new information in this supposed investigation, right? There was no evidence whatsoever presented, which was ridiculous. But the old evidence for ongoing investigations was not even fucking brought up. We did more from here. We did more from here in this room on the internet in terms of identifying what the problems were in the facilities that he went to than he did. He didn't look up the Department of Human Services. He didn't look up the licensing for any number of different daycares that he went to. He just simply kept saying, like, there's no children here. There's no children here. And that was it. People believed it. People were like, nope, that's it. What is this? Minneapolis City Hall reporter for the Star Tribune. Breaking. Tiki Brown, commissioner for the Minneapolis Department of Children and Youth Families, said none of the 10 child care facilities that YouTuber Nick Shirley recently visited for his viral video have had their payments paused, although a couple were previously closed down by the state, and state workers are doing visits to the rest today. The now infamous Quality Learning Center closed just over a week ago, and the first one in the long video, Mako Child Care, closed several years ago, she said. This is going to make this more annoying? What do you mean? Yeah, the reason why, why don't you block those bigots in your replies and QRTs? The comments on your tweets are cancerous. Because it's Twitter. It's impossible. It's like saying, hey man, you jump in the water and you get wet. Why are you jumping in the water and then getting wet? It's like, I know. I'm on Twitter. It's virtually impossible not to interact with Nazis. I wouldn't be able to do anything. Blocking all the bigots and all the Nazis in my QRTs would mean blocking pretty much 90% of the active Twitter user base at that point. Let me fucking, let me wrestle in the mud with the pigs, okay? It is what it is. It's up to you to take that shit seriously or to understand where that's coming from and just move on with your life. Why do you go on Twitter still? Because someone's got to fight those battles, man. What do you mean? It's just I can do it. That's it. It's not even that I'm brain broken necessarily, but I am brain broken, but that's not the reason. In any case, so that was one of the takes I had, which people are still just saying like, we're the children. Like, he did not prove that there were no kids there, brother. Like, that's the problem. That's technically the issue here. The issue that I have with the content or the news reporting that he was supposed to try to do is that he didn't accomplish the goal. Okay? He just didn't accomplish that goal at all. It was very frustrating to see. And it was doubly frustrating to see that there were people who looked at that video and it confirmed their priors. It's crazy. People were saying you were wasting your time on the fraud story, and for a minute I agreed, letting them set the narrative, but then I realized it's not your job to inform. It's our job to go out into the real world and tell everyone who brings it up how fake it is. Well, the problem is it's not even a fake story. There is charity fraud, okay? There is even a part of the charity fraud that took place. A part of that was one of the main guys that was caught doing the charity fraud also operated a child care facility as well. So there is real fraud and there are active investigations. The problem is extending that to every single child care facility under the suspicion that like Somalis are running it and going out and like trying to harass random people that are working at these child care facilities is insane. That's the difference between vigilante justice. Here's what it's like, okay? It's like when lynch mobs would form in the South. More often than not, it was formed over suspicion that a black person had actually done something. But sometimes it was actually because like there was a real crime that took place, right? But the lynch mobs wouldn't go after like an actual criminal. That should be left up to the criminal justice system. They would just go after random black people. This is just how it works. And this is the digital version of that, which then will have real world consequences as well. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Not really anything you can do about it. And now you got already repeat offenders or people who are trying to do the same exact thing, like calling up daycares in Ohio, being like, where are the children? Where are the children? Are you a fake Somali daycare? It's crazy. I only caught a couple clips of you watching the video, and both of the moments I saw that one guy saying Somalis are insular and Minnesotans are too afraid to be called racist and anti-Muslim to say anything, jam-packed with dog whistles. I mean, he also literally said that the Somalis are violent. Most people seem to know that they're being stolen from structurally. Now that the real villains have been revealed as Somalis in their mind, the collective outrage is out of control. Yeah, it's almost like a pressure valve for a lot of people. Here's Turnbull, who posted this as well. Like, this is another one. If you're angry about the Minnesota daycare fraud, the case below will really upset you. Philip Esformes ran a massive nursing home fraud scheme, bribing doctors to funnel patients and billing Medicare for unnecessary service for $1.2 billion. He was pardoned by Trump in 2020. Of course, no one gives a shit. Donald Trump did not pardon Philip Esformes. In December 2020, during his final weeks in office, President Trump commuted. He commuted his sentence. Okay, my mistake. But that's what it is, because these guys are, it's the same exact thing that happened with Donald Trump claiming, without any evidence whatsoever, that Venezuela was a narco trafficking hub, right? That Venezuela was a narco trafficking hub. And in the same week that he was like blowing up random fucking boats off the coast of Venezuela, he then turned around and actually pardoned a straight up real ass narco trafficker, the former head of the Honduran state. This kind of inconsistency does not matter at all to Republicans. That's my point. I mean, it's good to still bring it up because it does work on some people, right? But for the most part, the diehard loyalists, they don't give a shit, you know? They don't give a shit at all. Watch them. Delivery. Hayır. Yaparsan yerim. 3'te. Ha? Oğlum seni var ya inanılmaz döveceğim ha. Kamerayı kapatıp. It's good for liberals who eat the racist bait every fucking time and never learn. Yeah. There's also this side of it as well. I posted this as well. I said, I just want to remind people that I'm in fact... Ne? Yeah, peki, güzel. I am in fact anti-fraud. I don't care if the defenders are Somali or a lizard person who happens to be a Republican senator from Florida or Brett Favre or Russian nationals. Put them all in jail, but do better reporting, please. Okay? Not that it fucking matters, though. Because I think, once again, narrative is more important than the truth. Okay? Anyway, we got Donald Trump talking about the Donald Trump side by side with the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu sucking Israel's penis. We're going to move on from this because this shit's boring. It's everything we've heard already a million times over. Like I said, he literally said U.S. will strike Iran if necessary. But let's get back to the other, also same old bullshit song and dance that Donald Trump is presenting, but this time with Ukraine.
Zelensky came to Mar-a-Lago with a clear mission to keep President Trump engaged, convinced that Ukraine was working hard for a peace deal.
Gotta make a deal. Gotta get it done. Too many people dying, and I think both presidents want to make a deal.
No repeat of the Oval Office showdown of February, where Trump told Zelensky he didn't have the cards. Here in the Winter White House, which according to Trump, Zelensky found gorgeous, one clear commitment at least resulted: a 15-year US security guarantee. Zelensky said he'd still try to talk that up to as much as 50 years.
We agree that security guarantees is the key milestone in achieving lasting peace, and our teams will continue working on all aspects.
There was one moment when Trump described his same-day phone call with Vladimir Putin, where the famously non-card-playing Zelensky's poker face slipped.
Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president.
The current plan envisages an 800,000-strong peacetime army for Ukraine, funded by its allies, a release of all prisoners of war and civilians, and an $800 billion economic recovery package, with US companies standing to benefit. President Zelensky says a 15-year US security guarantee is now fully agreed. But Russia still rejects any parallel guarantee that would see European troops on Ukrainian soil. The biggest obstacle remains territory. Ukraine's willingness to withdraw its troops from the Donetsk region is contingent on Russia's military pulling back a similar distance to create a demilitarized zone. Russia still wants the whole of Donetsk and Luhansk, together the Donbass.
Open presents.
And then there's the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, which Russia is so far refusing to hand back.
I don't see Putin accepting anything but, at the minimum, and there's a transitory deal, full control of Donbass. He wants something that he knows that is so difficult for Zelensky to sell at home that it will cause political problems.
This afternoon, Putin's latest on-camera military briefing. His generals telling him this month saw the most gains of the year. Putin saying Russian forces should now...
Western Europe, no new taxes, more funding for Ukraine, and fascists are going to take over. They're going to take power, and they're not going to be fucking pro-Russia for the record. They will still absolutely attach themselves to the hip to whatever the fucking NATO purpose is. Maloney is a great example of this, okay? I'm just letting you guys know. There has never been a historic fascist movement post-World War II that wasn't pro-NATO. All of the historic fascist movements post-World War II were directly put back into power because of NATO in an effort to advance America's interests. So they're like all of this song and dance that they present as far as like, oh, they're gonna put an end to this war or whatever. It's all fucking bullshit. Okay? It's all bullshit. Europe will do whatever America wants them to do. Okay? Europe will do, EU will do whatever America wants them to do. There is no better example of this than Rutte straight up fucking telling Trump that he is daddy. What more do you need to see? But when they get into power, it will die down to small clashes? Maybe. I just don't think so. I think it will die down to small clashes if Russia has achieved its objectives. I think at this point, the reality of the matter, as I said before, this is not to take away any of the responsibility from Donald Trump, but the reality of the matter is Donald Trump has no way of like bullying Russia into submission, with the exception of hitting the nuclear option of forcing, you know, India and all the other secondary markets that America has a little bit more motion over. But that is a dangerous gamble, because America's larger interest here, America's actual enemy here, is China. And if you were to force the Indian economy to no longer be a mediator or an entry point for Russian oil and gas into the global market, then all of a sudden you might be pushing India into the hands of China. No, the nuclear option is not actually nukes. I mean, like, I meant like the nuclear option as far as, you know, the maximalist position. I still don't quite understand the point of this war, given your framing, though. You have two imperial powers trying to stake their claim in the region. Ukrainian conditions won't improve. They keep fighting. Either they'll get pillaged by EU and America, or they'll get pillaged by the Russians. I think they're going to get pillaged by EU and America and pillaged by the Russians, as they are currently. So the faster this comes to a hold, the better. But the unfortunate reality is that I don't think it's going to come to an end until Vladimir Putin has had enough. And there's no way to accelerate that demise on the Russian side in the hands of America without actually making American allies either lean in the direction of China or continue its relationship with America and you know, take on a shittier end of the deal. Because right now it's beneficial for them. Right now it's beneficial for India to be an entry point for Russian oil and gas into the global market. It helps them. It helps their economy. It helps them in general. If America were to force India to no longer do that, that would be the actual money play. That would unironically hurt the Russian position. It would make the Russian economy bleed a little bit, at least bleed enough that they would reconsider continuing to advance. Having said that, one must also consider that America probably doesn't give a shit if the war ends or not. So there's also that alternative motivation. Perhaps not even an alternative motivation, but the biggest motivation. Sure, on the domestic front, it's annoying for Trump a little bit because he promised an end to this war. And a lot of Americans are like, why are we giving Ukraine so much money? Because they don't fully understand how these like loan deals work, right? Biden tried to do the military Keynesianism argument before he was out. If you recall, when he had Zelensky show up to a artillery facility in Pennsylvania and was like, see, we're building stuff and these are jobs. We're making money for Americans so that Ukraine can defend itself. It's actually not, you know, just writing a blank check to Ukraine in the way that you think it is. But for most Americans, they don't give a shit about that narrative. They just think like, why are we giving blank checks to Ukraine? And that is a little bit of a domestic headache for Donald Trump, right? However, ultimately, it's great. It's a great deal for the military industrial complex to continue offloading their older weapons into Ukraine, as they have done so over the course of the past couple of years, and also potentially pick apart what remains of state-owned enterprise in Ukraine and open it up to foreign capital, so that once things do cool down, when the new Ukrainian-Russian boundaries are drawn and, you know, mineral extraction takes place and whatnot, they will turn around. They will turn around and enslave the Ukrainian population that remains in Ukraine. I think no matter what, no matter what, Ukrainians are fucked. India hate Pakistan and sucks Chinese dick. Wait, what? I mean, India plays both sides. India has a very unique position in the area. It's not like they have a lot of love for China either. Yeah, no matter what, whichever way they cut it, EU is fucked. Whichever way they cut it, Ukraine is fucked. Okay? And everyone else in the periphery is trying to you know, make the best of this, make the best of these circumstances.
Be able to create conditions to, in his words, liberate the whole of Donbass, and instructing them to seize the city of Zaporizhia. And within the last hour, Russia accusing Ukraine of trying to attack Putin's residence between Moscow and St. Petersburg, something it said would affect its negotiating position. An immediate denial coming from Kyiv, with President Zelensky saying Russia was trying to undermine progress between Ukraine and
Okay, this is also true. No, it's not a domestic headache. You seem to be assessing things the old way to do things while not accounting for the fact that Trump doesn't tell the truth about anything. It doesn't even fucking matter. Nothing matters. Trump does what Trump wants to do. That's the other thing. Like, you're not wrong. It's just, it is a little bit of a domestic headache if his own base is turning on him on this stuff, but it doesn't seem like it's a big concern right now. It's not a real priority. Especially if he's able to like overcome the Epstein stuff. If Donald Trump can make sure that his base doesn't fucking fall apart, even though half of them are going, "Hey man, are you a pedophile or what? Like, what the fuck's going on with this Epstein shit?" If he can withstand that, if he can withstand that while simultaneously sitting around and you know, yapping it up, yucking it up with Benjamin Netanyahu, great Satan Yahoo himself, then he is truly Teflon. And I guess whoever, especially whoever is ambitious enough or bold enough to not give a shit about democracy at all and has enough charisma to maintain like enough of a loyalist fan base, will be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do forever. Bro, adding me defending the whole area being cleared out for saying it's better having Israel so we can control. Brother, we are being controlled. What? What is this? I don't even understand. Stop fighting amongst yourselves, chatters.
At the end there, criticizing the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, calling him a fool. We should note that President Trump himself appointed him.
The way the right all fell in line with the Somali shit makes me believe they'll forget and move on. Yeah, but the Somali conversation is perfect, right? Because one, there is a real crime, and it was conducted by, I mean, it was cooked up by a white woman, but like most of the defendants are Somali, right? And Somalis are not just black, they're black and Muslim. So it's a double Monty. It serves multiple purposes. It's great because it's anti-welfare commentary. It's the easiest way to just like consistently talk about how we got to cut welfare, we got to cut welfare, we got to cut welfare, because all the fucking poors are actually gaming the system. They're stealing your tax dollars to purchase cars and shit. Okay? It's that's the reason why it's like it's elevated. Yeah. Sad to see every time Trump and the far right media ecosystem are losing control over the narrative. They can just spin a wheel, pick a random ethnic group to tell brazen lies about, and millions of people will bob their heads in unison. It was Haitians last year. People still believe the cats and dog stuff was real. Somalis this year, and they'll pick on another group next time. The more Epstein files drop. Exactly. And Haitians were a double Monty too. They could present themselves. They could present the Haitians as not only are they black, but they are also, once again, undocumented migrants, even though they weren't undocumented migrants, right? So they could like, that was the other larger narrative at play. At the time, it was crafting an anti-migrant narrative and utilizing black migrants, a community of black migrants, as the threat. Now, I don't know how long they can keep up the whole... Hassan, are you saying there isn't any fraud happening by Somalis in Minnesota? Are you fucking stupid? Of course I'm not saying that. Brother, there are active court cases. There's an active investigation. There are defendants that have already been imprisoned. The fuck? There are people who've been charged and convicted. There has never been a moment where I've said that. No, this is not an argument. You just said that 20 seconds ago? No, I didn't! Oh, you mean because I read the chatter's statement? Is that what you're saying? Are you baiting me? Is that what it is? Anyway, no, they're saying you said that there was fraud 20 minutes ago. I did. Of course. I mean, there is real fraud. Okay? There is real fraud. And yes, the Somali Americans, some of the Somali Americans that live in Minneapolis engaged in the fraud. They were benefiting from the fraud. They got kickbacks, right? And they got arrested, they got prosecuted, they got charged, they got convicted. We know this to be true. Are you hopeful for progressive politics in 26 or 28, or do you think we're too cooked? I think we're definitely too cooked.
During his first term. There was other news in his comments. The Israeli prime minister announced that Israel has awarded President Trump the Israel Prize, Trump becoming the first American to be given that honor. Also news on the Gaza peace deal, President Trump saying that he believes Israel has lived up to its side of the plan. There had been some reporting that Trump had expressed reservations about Israeli military action inside Gaza. President Trump also vowed to eradicate Iran's nuclear infrastructure if it were to attempt to restart. And the president said multiple times he's hearing of some possible activity, some possible nuclear activity. Finally, he did say regarding Taiwan that he does not believe President Xi Jinping intends to invade. He says, I don't believe President Xi, is going to do it. Our Elena Treen has been monitoring these comments here, covers the White House as well. Elena, do we know what the focus of President Trump's meeting with the Israeli prime minister was?
Well, from my conversations, Jim, and we're still, of course, learning more as it's all unfolding, and the president weaved a lot during those post-bilateral meeting remarks. But the focus was supposed to be on trying to move to the next phase of the ceasefire proposal. I'd remind you that proposal initially began in October. That's when it was struck. And at this point in time, heading very close into the new year, officials in the Trump administration had believed that phase 2 would already be underway. That is, of course, the disarmament of Hamas, the beginning of reconstruction in the enclave, and post-war governance for Gaza. Now, this is something I found very interesting that the president talked a lot about heading into that.
Obviously, something changed in TikTok. There are so many stupid videos, like 200K likes, that are trying to foment drama from nothing. There are so many lies around Kai. Even the liberals and queer people are pushing them too. I haven't seen it. I think you're seeing older videos. For You page algorithm changed. For the last couple of days, the For You page algorithm changed, and they were recycling the older videos over and over again. And I think you probably saw some of the videos from a couple months ago, when at the peak of Shocktober 7, October 7. Why is he covering up for the Somali fraud? Who? Donald Trump? Because he loves fraud. He's Mr. Fraud. No, you. Where did I do that? Was it when I said that there's an active court case against Somali Americans in Minneapolis that were prosecuted and arrested? Did that cause you to believe that I'm covering it up, or did you mean I'm covering the story? No, I meant covering it up, not being honest about it being bad. Okay. Greg, I believe you might be a little mistaken. So I'm going to tell you once again, I hate when people steal taxpayer funds that are supposed to go to feeding children. I do not give a fuck if it's a Somali American doing it. I do not give a fuck if it's an Italian American doing it. I do not give a fuck if it's a Russian American doing it. I despise it, and I'm glad that it's being investigated thoroughly. Okay? And I'm glad that at least some of the people who played a role in this have been arrested already. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this has been my position. So now you must try to figure out why you were led to believe the opposite viewpoint of the one that I actually hold. Perhaps the people that you watch are not as trustworthy as you think they are. Okay? Should Waltz go to jail? If Tim Waltz, once these investigations are concluded, and it is without a fucking shred of doubt that Tim Waltz played a role in this, fuck yes, he should go to jail. If Tim Waltz played a role in this fraudulent scheme, then yes. Why would I say no to that? I don't give a fuck. Once again, anyone and everyone that played a role in this fraudulent scheme should be punished. I'm anti-corruption, brother. It's a big part of the reason why I hate this fucking clown ass over here. Okay? It's so funny that people think that I would do anything but defend the truth. They just have they think that it's all a game of gotchas. Oh, dude, well, what do you have to say about this? It's I don't give a fuck about any politician. If they're doing crimes, they should go to prison. Okay?
meeting, the president said that he was hopeful that they could begin phase 2 very quickly, including the reconstruction of Gaza. And then after this meeting, he said essentially that he is going to give Hamas, or that Hamas would have a very short amount of time to disarm. Again, that is a key part of phase 2. And he said if they did not disarm within that short amount of time that he is stating on that stage, that essentially things would be horrible for Hamas. He said that some of the other countries that went into this agreement and backed this agreement would go in and wipe them out. So very strong words for Hamas there. Another thing that was very notable to me, Jim, was how much praise, not only, of course, Netanyahu was heaping on President Trump, but the amount of praise that Trump was giving to Bibi. At one point, he said that Israel has lived up to the plan, referring to the ceasefire plan, 100%. That is notable because in a lot of the conversations I've had with people in the administration, many of the advisors working on this deal, there's been some skepticism that perhaps Netanyahu has actually been slow walking phase 2 of this proposal, that essentially he wasn't entirely invested in the longer term peace plan. So that was very notable to me. He said that Israel essentially may not exist if they did not have such a strong prime minister like Netanyahu. Part of the reason that's such music to his ears, to Netanyahu's ears, of course, is that he has elections coming up.
Oh, God, you're hitting the law and order pivot. Please, no. Wait, what? Law and order pivot? What are you, fucking stupid? I believe. Oh, you're joking. Okay. Jesus Christ, dude. There's not a fucking pivot. Baba, stay up. Dedim şu anda yaptın yani. Neyse peki ver. 240.
2026. And so part of the goal for the Israelis and for Netanyahu specifically today was to really ensure that he has the full backing of Trump. And Trump got out there and did exactly what he wanted him to do, which was give him that type of support and praise.
Yeah, and one example of that is Trump's support for a pardon for Benjamin Netanyahu, potentially being considered by the Israeli president. Elena Trin, thanks so much. My panel is here with me, Evelyn Farkas, former Deputy Assistant Secretary.
No, I told my dad to make it at 3, as in like, then that way I could eat it by like, 4. But he made it immediately because he thought it was 3 already.
Secretary for Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia. CNN political analyst Jill Goldberg, co-founder and editor-in-chief of The Dispatch, plus Megan Hayes, former director of message planning for the Biden White House, and Brian Lanza, former senior advisor to Donald Trump.
Bro, why do you guys think I fucking glaze China all the time? Shit like this happens in China, and then they like immediately jail every single of it. Anytime this kind of shit happens in China, as it happens all around the world, right? Like anytime this kind of shit happens, like China will literally fucking shut up murk the people who play a role in this, including the fucking politicians. They'll have like a local politician that does this shit, that will, have like a kickback scheme or something. Maybe that's how you China pill the conservatives. That's how you China pill the conservatives. They'd be like, yo, you think prosecuting Tim Walz is enough? Are you kidding me? In China, if they actually conducted an investigation and found out that Tim Walz was guilty and played a role in this, they would fucking execute him. Now, I'm not pro death penalty, as you guys know, but like, if there was any fucking truth to that claim, are you kidding me? I just fucking realized we can China pill the conservatives instantly with this shit. What's this guy saying? One more time, and Asman will see it for sure, and he'll become best friends with you. Why? What is he saying? How does it feel that Asman mogs you as a streamer and commentator every day? It feels awesome. I love getting mogged.
2024 campaign. Good to have you all here, and there's much to go.
There is definitely something that goes on in the minds of conservatives. I swear to God. I mean, I think it's a meme for the most part, obviously, but like, I do think that there are some people who genuinely turn into like, how like the old grandmas and the old grandmas that were like, oh, Trump is so sexy. Like, they're doing that for Asman right now. I don't understand it. I think it's a joke. I mean, obviously, it probably is a joke, but I'm not so sure some people actually see it as a joke. I think they just straight up feel that way now.
Through the,
they have like a sexual
from those few minutes, the president speaking alongside the Israeli leader. Evelyn, first to you. The president said multiple times we have peace in the Middle East. He said that before. What we have, in fact, is a ceasefire. Where does
Fuck does
it
Asmund
stand
have
in
to do
terms
with
of moving to
anything?
the next phase, arguably the more difficult phase of the peace plan, including issues like disarming Hamas?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, Jim, they have to set up this peace council, which is kind of the political oversight. And we haven't really heard very much about that. Remember, President Trump said, I'm going to be the head of it. And we know that his advisors, so Witkoff and Kushner, have been in the region, have been talking about it. Presumably, it includes all the actors in the region and the broader region, Turkey, obviously Egypt and others. But the big sticking point is that we still don't have an interim security force. Yes, you know, Ambassador Mike Waltz has been effective in the UN. He got them to essentially authorize this security force. But we don't have countries and significant countries with real military experience coming forward to say, we want to be part of this. We've heard about Azerbaijan, Indonesia, Egypt, a couple of other countries. But I think unless Israel and the United States are pushing, you know, the Arab community to say we need real security forces, that's not going to happen. So there is some kind of foot dragging on top of what Israel's doing on the ground.
It's an enormous risk to put your forces on the ground there in the midst of fighting in Gaza, attempt to disarm Hamas, and perhaps quite understandably, a lot of nations in the area, and by the way, the U.S. as well, but not unwilling to do so. Brian, on the Iran topic, if I can, because the president made quite clear that if what he's hearing is notable, perhaps it was an intelligence assessment about attempts at Iran resurrecting its nuclear program. The president said, if they are, we're going to have no choice but to eradicate. Can we take the president at his word there that he might order strikes again if it does turn out to be true?
So I think it's pretty clear we have to take the president's word. He's not afraid to challenge Iran. He's confronted him in his first term. He's confronted him in his second term. He clearly sees them as an axis of destabilization in the region, and he has to address it. And what makes him different, at least the interactions that I've had with other presidents, whether it's for good or bad, is the fact that he is this business guy. And business guys in the business community, they always run towards problems and they try to solve it. Whereas you got politicians always looking to kick cans down the road and push on to somebody else. He actually wants to solve this issue. You saw the investment in the first term. You're going to see it again. You're going to see more of it. And it's a risk. It's a huge risk. But he's clear that he is not going to allow a nuclear Iran.
Jonah, I mean, the circumstances of the strikes he ordered a number of months ago were quite particular in that Israel had already essentially eliminated all of Iran's air defenses. So while that was a complicated, and let's acknowledge the service of the American service members who were involved in that.
This is the liberal. I love that this is the liberal equation here. This is a liberal conversation about bombing Iran. The lib take is we bombed Iran wokely, and the right-wing take is we bombed Iran for anti-woke purposes. But Iran must be bombed. It's awesome. And then people wonder why there's so much there's so much attention on non-mainstream resources nowadays. Where the fuck are people supposed to go if they just think, why are we bombing Iran? And every single day that passes by, there are more people who think, maybe we shouldn't be bombing Iran, right? Even fucking Republicans, right? Not many, but like, you can't get that. You can't get that itch satisfied at all in mainstream news. No one in mainstream media will tell you, nah, we shouldn't be bombing Iran at all, actually.
Operation. It was not the same as going in there and being, in effect, the first to strike. If the president were to order this again, would the circumstances be similar, or would this be a higher risk operation?
I can't imagine. I would be hard pressed to imagine that it would just be like a light switch and they would just turn, okay, tomorrow we're going to go attack Iran. It would probably be unfolded, with cooperation with the Israelis and other people in the region. I have a slightly different take on Trump, the problem solver who runs towards fixing problems. I mean, it's been 11 years of 2 weeks for the Obamacare fix from.
The thing is, like, these guys only respond to pushback, like militant pushback. Okay, that's it. The only reason why the tit for tat, back and forth bombing campaign ended was not because there was the appetite for bombing had gone away or something. It ended because Iran depleted Israel's defenses and America's defenses. It was too expensive.
Donald Trump, I think that the likelihood of him doing the Iran strike, which I supported, it was the right thing to do, I'm glad he did it, is that it was also probably the high watermark of his presidency in a lot of people's eyes. And he likes to double down on previous wins if he thinks he can do it again. And I think that it's in his own perceived political self-interest to make sure that this was not for naught. And so that's why I think he'd do it. But the actual circumstances, I think you probably have a lot of coordination. It's not like Bibi Netanyahu who's going to say, no, don't go in again, right? So it would have to be developed.
But Megan Hayes, there was some reporting prior to this meeting today that actually Trump was not that excited about meeting the Israeli prime minister.
Yeah, right.
And there has, to Elena's point, there's been CNN reporting and others that the Trump administration and Trump himself were frustrated by foot-dragging by Netanyahu on the next phases.
Bro, Israel is so uniparty. I'm sorry. It is such a fucking uniparty take. Oh my God, it's so... Both sides will always suck Israel's dick in American mainstream news. So much so that they are unironically doing the same exact reporting that they did with Brandon. There's reports that Brandon is very upset with Netanyahu. He's going to punish him any day now by giving him, $20 billion in weapons again. And it's the same bullshit with Trump. He's going to humble Netanyahu. Yeah, someone in the chat said, yeah, of course he was upset with seeing Netanyahu. Nobody likes to see their boss, okay? Especially during the fucking holiday season. Who wants to hang out with their boss at their home during the fucking holidays, Yeah, probably not so pleasant. Netanyahu's playing Trump as he played Biden. He says Israel won't move to the next phase of the ceasefire unless a stabilization force is created, but countries say they'll only participate if the Palestinian authorities involved. Knowing this, Israel blocks PA involvement. Oh, no. So things are just simply not going to work out, I guess. And Israel's going to continue occupying 50% of the Gaza Strip and then find eventually, when the attention is moved away, they will find another reason to occupy the rest of the Gaza Strip and continue its ethnic cleansing campaign. It almost feels like they just want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Americans will get mad about this for a day and a half, but then immediately move on to being like, what's really scary though? Muslims, That's truly who's the boss here. It's the Muslims.
Of the peace plan. Well, what is the actual state of the relationship between the two men, despite the goodwill? And by the way, the second, I think, non-Nobel Peace Prize award that the president has now received after FIFA, he has the Israel Prize from the prime minister.
Yeah, just based off some of the reporting, I think that Bibi had one mission here, and that was to get Trump on his side and for him to say things nice about him publicly, as you mentioned, for his upcoming election. There was reporting that Netanyahu is not super happy with Jared Kushner and Witkoff and how the negotiations are going. So he wanted to meet with Trump and he wanted to get his input and he wanted to change his mind on how he is dragging his feet, or at least plead his case to him. So we'll see if it works. What he says publicly is not always what he does in theory or in action reality. So I think that we'll just have to wait and see how this all plays out.
Right.
Netanyahu meeting happening as Iran's president says that Tehran is in a, quote, full-scale war with the United States, Israel, and Europe. So for more on what that could mean, let's go to Chief International Correspondent James Longman, who's in London. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Malika. President Pezeshkian says his country is in a full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe, saying the West does not want Iran to stand on its feet. He also claimed the military is stronger than it was when the U.S. and Israel targeted Iran's nuclear sites over the summer. You'll remember back in June, President Trump ordered an attack on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities using bunker buster bombs and cruise missiles. He initially claimed their nuclear capabilities had been totally destroyed, but the U.S. government now says some of that enriched uranium wasn't eliminated, and it's unclear how far their program was actually set back. Now, Iran's president is not the key decision maker in Iran. That is the supreme leader. But these comments look timed to provoke maximum reaction ahead of Netanyahu's meeting with Trump today. Will?
Certainly heighten the stakes. James, thank you for that. With 2025 almost in the books, it's time to take stock of the very tumultuous first year of President Trump's second term and what it means for 2026 and beyond. Trump has transformed the country in countless, often unprecedented ways by barreling through boundaries and at times ignoring.
Until Iran actually has nukes and gets Chinese defense systems, all of this talk is for nothing. And even then, Iran basically is like a leaky faucet. The entire country, it's far too diverse, it's far too large, and it's far too unstable. And there are straight up operatives for both the CIA, for Mossad, all up and down the goddamn country. We saw that with the Israel strikes. where Mossad had such a strong, Mossad was so far deep inside of Iranian territory that they had a full-blown drone factory in Tehran. So even if they had these defenses, they still need to figure out a way to, take out some of the people who are engaging in espionage within the boundary. I think a big part of why Iran also is internally unstable outside of the very real economic, the very real like sanctions and the blockade and the trade stuff is also because of the repressive nature of the Ayatollah too. That also plays a role, in my opinion, with how the Iranian population foresee their own government. Obviously, that also plays a positive role for the fundamentalists who like that shit. So then you get full-blown loyalty from the fundies. So it's both a good thing from their perspective in terms of maintaining stability and having a loyal base that you can always rely on, but it's also bad because it creates too much instability, especially among the younger generations. So ultimately, it's quite difficult for them to manage the system, to manage the situation. Does China not ignore sanctions on Iran now? What do you mean sanctions on Iran from China? China does whatever the fuck China wants. Yeah, Iran is a powder keg right now due to the huge inflation crisis and unprecedented water crisis as well. And then also on top of that, there's obviously a lot of people who don't like the repressive nature of the government. But beyond that, like I said, there's a lot of sectarian tensions that America regularly will lean into. Like there are Kurds, for example, in Iran that 100% are just waiting for the opportunity to collaborate with, or are directly collaborating with the CIA. Like there are so, and this doesn't mean that like all Kurdish people living in Iran are, enemies of the state or something like that. I'm not even saying that, but it does present a separate challenge. A separate challenge with even if you build the defenses, even if you get a fucking nuke, what happens when, there's too much instability?
Ignoring the limits of the law, slashing the federal government, issuing sweeping tariffs, and sparking a global trade war, cracking down on immigration, and targeting political enemies, and so much more. But first, how are voters feeling about his presidency so far? Let's begin with CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enten, to walk us through what the polls say and how they've changed.
Hey, Manu, look, 2025 was not exactly the best year for the president of the United States. He started off in pretty gosh darn good territory, right? Trump's net approval rating in January, he was 6 points above water, pretty much above where he was during his entire first term in office. But look what happens.
This is so funny. American, appreciate your Second Amendment. If right now we had guns to protect ourselves, Islamic regime was gone 30 years ago. Brother, how do you think the revolution happened? Yeah, Iranians famously kept servile. It's so funny. Holy prediction market Toledo.
Come December, 12 points underwater, way down there. That is an 18-point decline during the course of the year. Now, what has driven Donald Trump's decline in his net approval rating? Well, it's independents. That is the name of the game, baby. Look, in January, Donald Trump's net approval rating among independents was about even, -1 point. Not too hot to trot, but not too bad either. Now, whoosh, we're talking about 43 points underwater come December.
Holy
that
Toledo.
is a decline of
It's
42
off a cliff.
points on his net approval rating. Donald Trump is hanging out with Jacques Cousteau. That is how far underwater Donald Trump is with independents at this point. Now, what issues are driving this decline in Trump's approval rating, his net approval rating? Well, let's look at two of the key issues, right? The economy, the reason that Donald Trump was elected to a second term back in January, he was in pretty good shape at +9 points on the net approval rating. But look, come December, 16 points underwater. That is a decline, doing the math quickly here, of 25 points for Donald Trump on the key issue of the day, the economy, the reason he got a second term. And then, of course, immigration, which Donald Trump has really focused in on during his second term in office, something he has been focusing on since he first ran for the presidency all the way back in 2015. Well, In January, he was 9 points above water on the issue. Now he's 6 points below water on the issue. So on the key issues of the economy, inflation, going in the wrong direction for Donald Trump. Now, there is a bit of good news, or at least some solace that Donald Trump can take when you compare him to other 21st century presidents at this point in their second term. Look at their net approval rating. Trump is 12 points underwater, but Barack Obama right nearby at 11 points underwater. George W. Bush also right nearby at 10 points underwater. So you see this, hey, Trump isn't doing so bad, but here's...
Dog, if Trump had won his second term in 2020, even though he did win and Joe Biden obviously stole it, as you guys know, but if he was president, this would be like 25 points, okay? America might have had like an actual bourgeois revolution again. It's because it's not back to back that there was a brief pause. Oh my God, the same economic conditions, not hyperinflation, but like inflation crisis, negative real wage growth on top of the fucking incompetence. And the liberals were so libbed up at that point too. Oh my Lord, dude. I'm not an accelerationist by any means, but I do think that if Donald Trump had won in 2020, the very same liberals that are recognizing how much liberalism is failing currently and are looking for like more radical alternatives, I think that they would have had a way, way bigger voice. I also don't know where we would have gotten to by the midterms. I don't know where we would be. You are coming around to the anarchist view? Fuck no, I'm not coming around to the anarchist view. I believe in discipline. I believe in organization. I believe in the state's authority. I don't believe that I do not believe in the abolition of the state once there is a dictatorship of the proletariat. I believe that the state must transition. Where are the Biden acceleration is at, Lamau?
Here's the key nugget to keep in mind. Their parties, Barack Obama's and George W. Bush's, both suffered major losses come the midterm elections in their second term. Why? Because, take a look here. Okay, term two, negative net approval ratings at this point. Did they go positive by the midterm elections? In Barack Obama's case, no, it didn't happen. His party lost control of the Senate, suffered major losses in the U.S. House of Representatives. George W. Bush didn't go positive either by the midterm elections. His party lost control of the House and the Senate. And then, of course, all the way back in 1973, going into 74, Richard Nixon's net approval rating was negative. He was actually forced from office before those midterm elections, and then his party suffered
1973
major losses in Congress. We'll have to wait and see if the same thing happens to Donald Trump. He gets a question mark at this point, but based upon history, it doesn't look too good for the man in charge of the White House right now. Oh, and Manu, Happy New Year.
All right, Happy New Year to you too, Harry. And I've got a terrific panel joining me right now. CNN's Jeff Zeleny, NPR's Tamara Keith, and Bloomberg's Mario Parker. Happy New Year to you guys as well. A lot to look forward to in the year ahead. Let's take stock of what just happened and where things are going. You know, Harry, those numbers were pretty stark. I mean, look at this. The independent number I was really struck by. I mean, Trump was down with independents by 1 point in January. Now he's down by 43 points underwater, a 42-point slide.
And
wow.
It's wow. And this is not news to the White House. I mean, you can hear it sort of week by week recently. President Trump is increasingly asking, in midterm elections, why do presidents, their party lose seats? He's just been bringing it up randomly in Oval Office meetings.
I wonder why.
It's on his mind. Of course, he has seen this movie before. In 2018, the first midterm of his first term, he had big losses. It's why the White House has been so obsessed with redistricting. It's why they've been so obsessed with trying to change the game. And as we end the year here and look forward to the new year, the redistricting is about a wash. I mean, there are still a couple unanswered questions. Florida, for example, which is going to help Republicans a touch. Virginia is going to help Democrats a touch. But by and large, redistricting alone is not going to save the president. So I think when we take stock of what we know now about Trump, he's been a very activist president in terms of flexing the executive authority of his office. But we also learned how he spends his time. And I think that is one of the reasons that the numbers are so low, because he promised to fight for you He's actually doing a lot of stuff for himself.
Yeah.
Like plaques, the Trump Kennedy Center, a lot of things. So that is what frustrates some White House advisors. He promised to be a your retribution. He's actually just doing stuff for Donald Trump. And I think that hits at some of these independent numbers.
It's such a good point. And we're going to be talking about those Trump awards later in the show and what it all means. But Tamara, you cover the White House. When Trump looks at those numbers, is he denying those exist, or is he privately acknowledging we got to change course here at least a little bit?
Well, look at his behavior, right? He didn't hold rallies much of the year. All of a sudden, he's holding rallies. Now, are those rallies on message? No. But he's giving the audience what they want, which is the weave and all of the things and all of his complaints and all of his retribution and all of that. But I think that these numbers answer a question.
If you think that Donald Trump's approval ratings would look the way that they do currently, with all of the shit that he's been doing, with like the awards and the fucking new East Wing of the White House, if he actually fixed the affordability crisis somehow, you are the most delusional person on the planet. If Donald Trump had unironically turned around the American economy like he said he would, he could literally go out and just shoot immigrant children on camera, on television, and people would be celebrating it. He could go out and be like, I love Jeffrey Epstein, and people would be like, it's all good, Mr. President, we love you. He could literally blow up the White House, not just the East Wing, and people would defend it. The only reason why these things become a problem is because they are initially presented as a solution, falsely, of course. They're initially presented as a solution to the actual problem, which is the fucking economy. The people that are on board with your cause are on board with it, partially because they're a cult, for sure. But even in a cult, they believe the cult leader's lies. And once the cult leader is proven to not succeed as far as fixing their problems, there is not enough bread and circuses that will reshift your priorities, that will shift your priorities away from the pain that you are feeling at the end of the month. You cannot propagandize against starving people, okay? Now, we're not there yet completely, but treats are what keep this entire country together. And when you revoke access to treats, when you claim that treats are coming back, and also more importantly than just treats, but when you claim that, things that you actually need for survival are going to be more affordable and they're not, and on top of that, you're reducing the treats, you're going to start fucking losing your mind a little bit. You're going to be like, okay, dude, the fuck is this shit?
Which is what happens when a president only governs for the base and only governs based on...
Chatters are worried about Kaya's situation. It's because I'm electrocuting her so much that she's knocked out. Like she got stunned. Yeah. It's because I electrocuted her so much. Yeah. Stun grenade, yeah. Hey, don't joke about that. You'll be banned ASAP. Why would I get banned about that?
Damn, this guy's good.